Hello. That is my absolute favorite one I have done so far. I have to say, the music for some reason became my favorite. I don't know if
That
my
was amazing. I love that.
thank you. I was like, it has to be something that's kind of magical and whimsical. That whimsical isn't the right word, but so I loved it. So thank you, Carla. So welcome to It's a Fandom Thing and to our final Christian effing Bale episode. I am so sad this is ending. I feel like I'm in mourning.
Don't mourn the end. Enjoy the journey. Celebrate all the time you spent talking about one man
Yeah, and watching
who is
one man
not
and
Phil Knickknack.
I
I know
brought him along.
I'm celebrating it.
No, it's been so much fun. I have enjoyed this so much, and I want to give a special thank you to Carla for going on the journey with me this whole time and being on every single one, and also for bringing our unofficial mascot to life. It's been so much fun. This seriously, I did not realize how much I liked Christian Bale until we did this. I liked him, but then I'm like I said when we were recording Equilibrium, I I this is my dream interview now. More than anyone else in the world, this is who I want to interview.
Yeah, like
Putting that
between
out there.
between binging all of his movies basically and
Yeah.
then every interview that you could get your hand on, he just seems, well, apart from being a fantastic actor, he just seems like a really just cool guy that interviewing wouldn't be a chore.
Yeah, it would be fascinating. It would be intimidating as hell, but it would be so fascinating. And he's just and he's funny and not Hollywood at all. So I'm like, uh so anyway, so Christian, remember, we love you in a very healthy way. So come on the show.
Super healthy and totally normal.
Yes. we but this isn't the end for our live streams though. I want to say we are doing a live stream January 30th. I'm not positive on time. Maybe Carla and I will announce that during this. Maybe we'll determine it during this. Whatever works for Carla is what we're going to do.
Let's do 8 p.m. Eastern. That is 6 o'clock Mountain.
Okay. So that's settled. So next Sunday, 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Hey, Aaron. Hi. I'm waving at you. I always feel weird when I'm waving. I'm like, but join us next Sunday. We are going to celebrate our unofficial mascot's birthday with marshmallows, with a cool game that Carla came up with trivia. We're going to give away It's a Christian effing Bale thing merchandise. So it's going to be so much fun. And we're going to play like different Christian Bale would you rather things. Nothing perverted. Okay. And Tiff does not look very sure of that, but she's questioning me.
Really? Really?
Really, Aaron, it's you. Are you sure about that? And Meg doesn't believe me either, but whatever. Have some faith. Not like George Michael's
I mean,
song.
I have faith in the fact that this will perv out.
I have been totally not pervy on Christian Bale. Carla can attest to that, except for yesterday on the Equilibrium one. That's the only one.
Yes, yesterday in Equilibrium and last year on American Psycho. But other than
Oh
that,
yeah, yeah. When
everything's
I
been
talked
good,
about his
clean
ass in
fun.
the shower. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, his ass in the shower. Hello. Anyway.
I'm glad he cleans it. I appreciate good hygiene.
Yes, he cleans it very well. And Aaron even believes it's going to get perverted. Jeez, you people have no faith in me. It's not like I've ever done anything like that to ever give you that belief at all. But okay, so let's get into it here. I'm very excited to talk about this one. This is our most popular one. This will probably be the one we do a live tweet of too. Hey Panda, I don't know if you saw because I know you asked me about the bingo cards. I don't know if you saw it earlier. So there's the bingo card again. But anyway, so we're going to do a live tweet of a Christian Bale movie for his birthday as well on Sunday during the day. And it was a tie between The Dark Knight and The Prestige. So I'll probably flip a coin to decide, or I'll do another one just between the two of them, or maybe we'll do both of them. Who knows? Um, and we'll do live tweets of those. But I'm very excited about this. This is the most packed panel we have. I decided since it was Christian Bale month, I would make an exception and break my new rule of 3 panelist limit max thing. And I would allow us to have 4 because I wanted all of these 4 beautiful people on here with me.
She let me
So,
sneak in.
yes, I was like, I wasn't going to call out who it was.
She let me sneak in.
Yes.
Who glommed on?
Yeah.
It was me.
Yes, it did. But I'm very excited. But before we get to that, just a quick note that we are on Patreon right now for as little as $3 a month. I am working on the edit of the special rent episode. So that'll be released hopefully this coming week sometime. And then after that, we're going to do every season of American Horror Story. And then we're also doing 4-letter word in the summer, which is, we're doing that because Mal, they are a Patreon supporter and they want us to cover this one.
I'm just saying. I
And
want to
so
be on that one.
you're already on that.
Just don't do it while I'm away, unless I'm at your house recording.
No, it's not. It'll be like in July or June, July.
July is when I'm gone for most.
I thought it was June. Well, we'll do it in June then. We'll do it in June or something. Don't worry, we'll do it so that you're on it. So click the link in our show notes or go to any of our social media and click our link tree and find it there. Okay, so let's get started. We have already done Christian effing Bale as the free space. I don't know if I even, yes, and the Prestige, of course, has been mentioned. We mentioned The Dark Knight. I'll count that as mentioning Batman. We mentioned American Psycho. We mentioned Equilibrium. Woo, we're getting there already. And I think that's all. Oh, we mentioned fanfic. We all kind of laughed. So there we go. Okay, so let's go around and have everybody introduce themselves and tell me one thing you're into right now. Carla.
Hi, I'm Carla. And what I'm into right now is so I have this thing now that when I do household chores that require me to just sit in one place, I'm playing The New Girl as my keep me company while I get stuff done show. It's my first watch through, so I'm powering through all of that Zoe Deschanel because the other characters I like. So there we go.
I love
That's
that
my
you
thing in
call
pop
it
culture.
The New Girl.
You know what? Okay, like I'm gonna call it what I want because I'm watching this show and it's on my TV and it is called The New Girl on my TV.
Who's that? The New Girl?
Who's that? The new girl? Yes. Who's that? The new girl. Thank you for answering the
The
question.
Jets.
And we are going to be talking about New Girl in May. It's going to be very difficult for me to watch this show because I have tried with this show quite a few times. I will be honest. I know quite a few of our panelists love this show that are on right now. And I've tried. It's Zoe Deschanel. It's just like Carla. That's what is hard for me.
I understand that. I totally get that, and I get behind it because she can be very grating even to me who doesn't have like this weird anti Zoe Deschanel thing. But the other characters are so good. Like they're just they make up for the Zoe.
Okay, Meg, listen, that's great, but she's in it a lot.
Like yeah, she's
So
the new
that's the
girl.
whole point.
The New Girl.
So I will be watching it, but I'm just warning my panelists. Like, some of them, I'm looking at them right now. That So Meg, one of the people that's going to be, I believe you're going to be on that one. What are you into right now?
Right now, I am into the Encanto soundtrack. And also being teased about my emotional response to the Encanto soundtrack. I have yet to see this movie. Like my kids watched it while I was isolating because I was exposed to COVID and I wasn't sure if I had it or not. But the soundtrack has been on in my house nonstop. So that's what I'm into just by osmosis. Because otherwise I'd be like, yeah, I'm watching literally the same shit I've been watching. I've been watching Castle again for some reason. It kills me because I loved Castle so much when it was coming out, and now I'm watching it again, and I'm like, this seems kind of ridiculous. And that makes me sad. So don't go back to your old faves, guys. I'm just,
Okay.
I'm just kidding. But I'm watching it and I'm like, this doesn't seem plausible. And I'm like, oh, that's depressing for me. Just listen to
Wow.
Encanto nonstop, relentlessly.
Okay, well, good to know. Good to know.
I'm really on tonight, you guys.
Um, I've missed you. So, Paula, what are you into?
I've been doing some video gaming. So we've been playing 7 Days to Die, which is a zombie horror survival game. And we have like a private server with my friend group, and we've been playing that a lot. So it's slightly terrifying and a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, and you know, Christian Bale loves video games.
See, there's a
Just the
lot
most
of
bizarre fact.
awesome actors that really like video games, so I feel like I'm in good company.
Yes, yes. You could play video games with Christian.
Exactly.
And Tiff, what are you into?
I am back on my Henry Louis Gates love, and he does his genealogical research for his guests that come on. It comes on PBS, and I love it so much. It's informative, it's interesting, it can get very emotional, especially for people who he's done, like Taya Leone, her mother was adopted, and they found like her mother's birth family, which is really good. So it's really good. It's really good. So I enjoy it. It comes on once a week. It usually runs like about maybe 7 episodes per season. So, and he usually does 2 to 3 people per hour long show. So it's very interesting.
Awesome. And this is Erin, and it's really hard for me to. I'm not really into anything else. I haven't really been watching much else.
You missed Paula.
Nuh-uh, I did not miss Paula. Paula
Yes,
said
she
she's
did.
into video games.
Shh. I'm sorry.
I'm like, wait, did I?
No, you didn't miss me.
You had me going for a second there. I was like,
I know,
wait.
me
I was like,
too.
wait
I
a
was like,
minute.
what?
Did we miss me? I
Did we
don't know.
yeah. Like I said, I'm really on my game tonight, you guys. It's gonna be a good time.
Well, I didn't miss Paula. I mean, I missed Paula, but I didn't miss Paula.
I've been
So-
distracted trying to figure out my new webcam. That's giving me a hard
Mhm.
time.
So anyway, it's hard for me to choose what I'm into because all I've been into is Christian Bale and the other stuff I've already mentioned, like Yellow Jackets, the finale. Please watch that show. Again, I'm just going to always talk about that show. You're going to get sick of it, but I don't care because it's the best show on television. And I'm also, if Jen was watching right now, she would understand this, but I'm just going to say this. Jen sent me a spreadsheet today for an episode that I'm going to be on of her show. And it was the best spreadsheet I've ever received in my life. End of story.
I can't imagine what that episode is about. I can't.
So that was very exciting. That was a nice way to start the day. So soon I will be leaving Christian Bale land, going in. Well, I'm watching Insecure right now too to prepare for next week, but I'll also be in Prince Land. I'll be in another land. Sorry, everybody. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that episode of my streaming bubble, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's this man right here. So it'll be Finn. So it's going to be a blast. Everybody's going to hate me, but I don't care. Okay, so let's get into the Prestige. And like we've been doing with all of these, let's start, since this is about Christian Bale, let's start with talking about his performance in this. Because, of course, we're going to spoil this, but hey, you've had lots of years to see it, whatever.
I mean, it's only 20 years old.
Yeah. So he has a lot to do in this. So what do you think of Bale's performance, Carla?
It is so good and so intense because all of the characters in this movie are so intense. But particularly his and Hugh Jackman's character are just like, "Urgh." It's ambition, but it's also just hatred and anger that's fueling them. But his performance in particular is so remarkable because he's actually playing two different characters who are twins and they're leading just one life, which I'm like, why? Like, you're both good looking guys. You can both do magic stuff. Why didn't you go and like find a different road? Like, I don't know why it had to be this way, but I'm not the writer of this movie. Um, but yeah, like they're
It
but
was all about the trick. That's why.
yes, obviously, Meg. That's why it's called the Prestige.
That's why they
But
couldn't.
yes, but still. So I really, once you've watched it and then watched it again, you can start to pick up when it's the one guy versus the other guy. When the wife Sarah says, "I can tell when you mean it when you say you love me versus when you don't." And it's true, like, there are times when you can see that there's so much warmth and love in his interactions with her, and times when he's just clearly faking it. And it's really cruel to her that because these two guys are committed to their trick, that she ends up having to suffer for it. She is in a marriage where her husband is not always the same guy, uh, literally and figuratively. Um, so she really okay, but anyway, the performance. So it's just watching him in those moments when he is not the one who's actually in love with Sarah, and the way that he
Mhm.
behaves towards her, it's so much colder and more selfish and cruel. And then the other times when he is, there's so much more tenderness and love. It's and it's subtle. It doesn't hit you over the head with it. It's you really have to look for it, but it's done so well. It's just like I often say, my words of wisdom. It's Bale being Bale.
Exactly. It is Bale being Bale. Yep. So, Meg, your thoughts on
Well, my
Christian Bale's performance?
extensive experience of working with Christian Bale.
Yes.
I have, though. I've been this far from him. Anyway, so I had, before this week when I watched the movie for this episode, I hadn't seen this movie in a really long time, so I forgot a lot. Like, I forgot pretty much everything that happens in this movie. And I will tell you, I think the testament to Christian Bale and his acting is that I completely did not realize that Fallon, for the long, like, it didn't click for the longest time that Fallon and God, what the hell's his name? I'm sorry, I just spaced on it for a second.
Alfred?
Alfred, there we go. Freddie and Fallon were the same actor playing these characters. And that part of that's on me just because I was not a big fan of this movie when it first came out. But he did a really fantastic job. And as now that I'm older and stuff and I look at movies a different way than I did 20 years ago, I can really appreciate how impressive that is. Like, Hugh Jackman plays multiple characters, but it's very clearly Hugh Jackman playing multiple characters. And that's no shade on Hugh Jackman. I'm ride or die with Hugh Jackman. I love him so much. But Christian Bale just had an ability. He changed his entire physiology while playing both of these characters. And when you do go back and watch it after you like realize what the Prestige is, when you get to the end and you realize what was going on through the whole movie and you go back and watch and you can see the subtle differences just in his mannerisms. There's anything that he was really broadcasting super loudly, but they're tiny little things that he was doing as an actor to be those different characters that you can catch up with. And no, I think it was just really, really impressive. as someone who's worked with him.
You're so funny. Don't worry, if I was, yeah, I would be doing the same thing if it had been me. So just wait till I interview him. You'll never ever hear the end of it.
No, I think I did work on that movie for about 5 days total.
Yeah. So Paula.
This is one of those movies that a lot of times you like put a movie on in the background and you just let it go and you don't really have to pay attention to it. You have to pay attention to this movie. And they even say several times in the movie, "Are you paying attention?" And it's mostly because of, in my opinion, his performance, because it's so subtle, so nuanced, and so good. And even I haven't seen this movie in a few years either, and going back and watching it, I'm still watching for those cues of, okay, which one is he this time? And it's still a little bit difficult to pick up on, just because he's so subtle at it, and it's a fascinating character to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Tiff.
I think I like the way Meg phrased it about the differences in his physiology when he is Fallon. Fallon is, a bit hunched over. He's like holding internally, like he's holding the weight of the world on himself. So he's got like this almost hunchback type of deal. He's extremely quiet. He never talks. I'm like, when the character first comes on screen, I'm like, okay, is he a mute? Is he is he missing a tongue? What is the problem here? He's not speaking at all. This is odd. And like Paula said, when they keep saying, "Are you watching? Are you are you paying attention? Are you doing this? Are you doing that?" And it's like, oh, at the very end, it kind of like whacks you over the head. Can't believe that happens. And as you all said, it's totally attributed to Bale's performance in this, because when he commits, he commits. He is a character actor through and through, and you can see that he takes pride in his performance. The differences in how he treats his wife Sarah when he's playing, the differences. Fallon you can tell, is the one that loves, the Fallon twin is the one who loves Sarah and is the one who has that softness and that care for her. And Alfred, who is the more boisterous, in my opinion, of the twins, is the one who is in love with the other person that we'll talk about. And the one who Carla mentioned is, very cruel to Sarah, who treats her as, I guess, an obligation. That's basically, you can tell he's not in love with her. Keeps her around because he has to, because it appears that his brother has made this commitment to her, and they're here for the ride. And like you said, Carla, why didn't they just do this as twins? Why all the secrecy? why all the subterfuge? But I guess, hey, they said, we're going to do this and we're going to ride it out until the very
They decided
end.
to go the hard way, and they really committed. I'm like, okay.
But they talk about it. They talk about the sacrifice that they're willing to make for their craft and stuff like that. And it's a huge sacrifice, but they wind up, it's not just their sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem comes from.
Yeah.
But
it's one thing to sacrifice your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But you sacrificed your kids, you sacrificed your wives, your friendships, whatever else. Let's not forget John, John Cutter, who is there for everything. He's literally there for everything. And you sacrifice, I mean, my gosh, his like sanity. Essentially.
I think about how impressive this movie is, in that it is what its title is. Mm-hmm. Like, it goes through the magic trick. Like, we're taken on a magic trick throughout the entire thing, and this illusion and the prestige at the very end when we get that. And I think that's so impressive, and that hinges on Bale's performance.
Yep.
Like, if Bale was not up to the task, if we could tell at any time really for sure that Fallon and Fred and Alfred were twins, then the jig was up. But and I love how they put these little things in there, like you should be paying attention, like, but we don't want to see that stuff. We're too engrossed in the misdirection of the drama and the tragedy. And I think it's so clever of the writer, the director, but especially Christian Bale's performance, because without that performance, the whole thing would have fallen apart. It would have been just a mess.
Yeah. Agree completely. And the other way you can tell their differences when you're watching, because I too hadn't watched this in like I think since it first came out, honestly. And I remembered what the twist was, but even when I was watching it now, I was like, so is that Fallon guy? Is that who it was? Or who? Because I didn't even remember. I was like, when does the twin come in? And is this Fallon guy separate? Or is that the, so so that's how subtle it is. And with Bale, with his performance, the other way you can tell the two apart, and this speaks to how good of an actor he is and how subtle he is, the eyes. You look in the eyes, and when he is Fallon as opposed to Alfred, there's a warmth and a kindness, and his eyes kind of seem even older and wiser, and especially when he's around his daughter, and they soften a bit, and then Sarah as well. And there's the scene when Alfred is drunk and they're at the restaurant, the expensive fancy restaurant, and Olivia is there too, along with Sarah, his wife. And Alfred is such an asshole and so mean and cruel to her. And Fallon's sitting there the whole time. And if you watch Fallon's face, you can see how much pain and anguish is on his face because he loves Sarah so much. And you can tell, I really think Alfred was the one who masterminded all of this. I could be wrong, but that's the impression I got. And you can tell that Fallon is like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to hurt Sarah. I love her too much, but I can't give up the jig, even though I think he wants to. And so that just speaks, I think, to Bale's performance too, because that's so subtle. And when you watch it again and and you're piecing together everything, you're like, oh, that's a little hint there too. And of course, every time Sarah says, now you love me today, you didn't love me yesterday. And just watching him with the daughter and just watching his eyes, especially, and the way he holds his body. And that's the way Bale is a physical actor. I mean, he's known for his body transformations, but he transforms the way he walks, even if he's not losing weight or doing any of that. So he just becomes the character. And I think I can't imagine anybody else taking on this role and doing it the same way he did and doing it with the same success that he did. I just frankly can't imagine anyone else in this role.
Well, and it's so much the ultimate gaslight when you think about it. To Olivia and to Sarah both, because and to us, because they're both playing both of these characters. Sometimes Fallon is Alfred, sometimes Alfred is Fallon. So you really have to pay attention to, like you said, Aaron, the eyes and everything like that, to see kind of who is who and who's like, and you can tell. And Sarah's our biggest window into who we're actually watching. And I think to an extent, his daughter too, like when Sarah and Alfred are fighting because Alfred very clearly does not love Sarah in this day or whatever like that. And Fallon covers her ears and then just picks her up and carries her. And it's so interesting because we don't know who the actual genetic father.
Yeah, I know that. I was going to ask what everybody thought
of this little girl is, but she is clearly the daughter of Fallon's heart. Like I think Alfred also loves her, but I think it's very different because Fallon loves her mother also, and that changes the connection of it. So it's just, it's really good. I did not appreciate this movie nearly as much as I should have when it first came out, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. And I'll be revealing something a little later that'll probably make my panelists hate me. So prepare for that.
You keep saying that and it never actually happens. Like, we never hate you.
I'm not saying real hate, Meg. I'm saying like you're gonna be really upset when I reveal something.
She's like, I'm a huge fan.
Is it something like
Jessica Biel is my favorite actor?
in this movie as a child.
I
Oh,
didn't hear
man.
that. I didn't. I was listening to Carla, and everybody was talking at once. So.
I said you're gonna tell us that Jessica Biel's your favorite actor. And then
No,
Jim
no, no,
lost
no,
her
no.
spirit.
No, I'll just say it now. I am not a Hugh Jackman fan.
Oh,
Um,
right.
I
And we're out.
And Meg said deuces.
it's not that I think he's a very genuinely nice person. I think he's like probably one of the most genuinely nice
I gotta
people
go.
in Hollywood.
Sorry.
Hey Mal,
I gotta go.
Hey,
Bye,
Mal.
guys. Bye, guys.
well, let me just explain something though.
You said the one thing that truly no, I'm just kidding.
But let me just explain something. In this movie, though, this is one of those movies where this and The Prisoner. I think he's excellent in The Prisoner too. That's an excellent movie, totally different than this one. I have to say, this movie, I think he is fantastic in it, and I think he's actually the perfect person to be playing alongside Bale and to play opposite that because his energy is so different. And in real life, I was watching an interview with both of them, and in real life, their energy is so different together because, Hugh Jackman's very much a performer all the time and very much like that, and Bale isn't. And so it's interesting. I think it's perfect that they were cast in this because I think that actually helps elevate both of their performances. I mean, I think Bale is the better performance. I just do. But I think Jackman is still really good, and I think they kind of elevate each other. So the reason I said that with not liking him is that I actually really like him in this movie. And it's mainly his acting style. I usually don't like his acting style, but I think he's a genuinely amazingly kind human being, like amazingly kind. But I was like, that's the thing that's going to make everybody hate me.
Well, and I'm not going to disagree with you as far as the performance goes. I think Bale was given the much more difficult task. Like, his two roles were meant to be a secret up until the very, very end of the movie. Hugh Jackman playing multiple characters in this movie was very clearly Hugh Jackman playing two different characters. There was never supposed to be like a secret about that. And that's where I can 100% agree with Bale having the more challenging and more nuanced performance in this movie. I will fight you later about you not liking my husband.
Hey, you give me enough crap already that you can handle a little
How
bit.
dare... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
She's going into her about how very dare yous. When
How
she throws out the how very dare
very
yous,
dare.
It's coming, Aaron.
I'm going to
It's
turn
coming.
off the microphone and camera, but mostly because I have to pee. But I'm going to do it in this way that seems like a storming out way.
Yeah,
I just was like, I have to be honest about that because that is something that I remember when this movie first came out, and I was like, oh,
you're entitled to your wrong opinion. It's
that's
okay.
okay. I can deal with watching this performance. But like I said, he seems like the genuinely nice, like too nice guy. Okay, so let's get into the characters. We're going to talk about Alfred and Robert, the two main characters, as individuals, and then their relationship together. So, Carla, your thoughts?
So many thoughts. Because for starters, it's just like this movie gives you so much to think about, even after you're done watching it. I watched it twice when it first came out because it was just so intriguing. It's like, oh my God, this whole time. And I love that. I love movies that take me by surprise, where I'm on this whole ride and I figured out this one thing and I'm just sitting back being all cocky about it. And then, oh wait, there's a further twist that I did not expect. But Alfred and what is it, Robert?
Robert.
Yes. Are both very very ambitious, but it's not just that they're driven, they're obsessed. And that line between drive and obsession can blur really easily, especially when there's rivalry involved, because then it's not just about trying to be the best that you can be, It's about trying to one up somebody else. And in that, you're losing sight of your goals and what you want to achieve. You're just, so narrowly focused on something that you forgo other brilliant things that you could do aside from that. And that's where the twins and Robert really set themselves up and set each other up for ultimately death and failure. The only person who comes out of this a winner in any way is the twin who was in love with Sarah, and who, whether or not he was the actual father of Jess, is the one who truly loved her and really actually took care of her. Um, he, not to say that anybody like really deserved to die, but he's the one who was, uh, I think, most really affected, because the other twin just really wanted to push and push and push and go after Robert, and that was his whole thing. Like um, as Fallon, he was like, okay, look, let's stop this, and as um Alfred, he's like, no, we have to, we're gonna go to the theater and we're gonna look at this performance, even though it's just a trap. Um, he's the more one uppy one of the two. I really feel like the other one would have been perfectly fine being like, okay, you know what? Let's just wrap this up and move on and do another trick or whatever. And then Robert, similarly, he lost sight of why he was even angry at Alfred. Like when he says that he doesn't even care about his wife anymore. It's like, well, wasn't this the whole reason why you wanted to, punish Alfred? Because his because your wife died because he made a mistake. Um, so they both end up like these two people who are just so hyper focused on the wrong things end up getting these awful, awful fates. And it's really sad because they both, they each had their own talent. Like the movie says over and over again, Robert was not the better magician. That was definitely the twin performers. They were the better magicians. And but what he did have was this performance value and this charisma and showmanship. He was fantastic
He was
at
the
commanding a
greatest
stage.
showman.
Yes, he was
I'm
the
sorry,
greatest
I
showman.
couldn't. It was right there. This is the greatest show.
No, Meg, no. Yes, he was the greatest showman of the three of them. But and I do wonder if um the not so callous twin was the one who was the face of the of their act in the beginning,
Mm.
and then when they required more charisma, the other one stepped in. Because you do see that he has just more oomph to him. The other one has more earnestness, and earnestness is great for interpersonal relationships. That doesn't really translate well on a stage, and that's what you need on a stage is just that projection of charisma. Um, and their relationship with each other, it's just completely, it's a mess and it's awful. And as much as Robert blames Alfred for Julia's death, Julia also wanted that more difficult knot. She's the one, like during
Mhm.
that backstage conversation, she said, "I can do this. I want to do this." When she's looking um at Alfred as he goes up to volunteer to do the knots, he started off doing just the standard one, and then she begged him to do the other one, and that was definitely Sarah's Alfred.
Yeah.
That was definitely him. Why? Because when the other one gets asked over and over again, which knot did you do? He genuinely doesn't know. There's a reason why he doesn't know, because he's not the one who tied it. So, like, there's so much desperation in this movie, and in his desperation and grief, Robert loses sight of the fact that it was a tragedy, but certainly Alfred did not mean for his wife to die, and he was just as terrified when they were trying to get her out of that glass box as anybody else. So it all started from a tragedy that one couldn't let go of, and the other one couldn't let go of that righteous indignation of, like, fine then, you're going down too.
Mhm. Yep. And Meg. I don't know why I said that like that. Sorry.
And Meg. I think it's really interesting. They have notions of sacrifice that are so completely wildly different. And if you don't know from my pretend temper tantrum, I am like ride or die Hugh Jackman. Like, this is a man that made me be like, P.T. Barnum, he's not so bad. Like, obviously P.T. Barnum is a horrible person, but I love The Greatest Showman more than like anything, and it's because of Hugh Jackman. Like P.T. Barnum is a horrible, horrible human being. Stop making him charming. I don't like that. But your songs are so catchy, and I love you, Hugh Jackman. So I'm very predisposed to like be Team Hugh and a lot of things. But Robert is just a terrible person. I found myself rooting for him a lot until the end. Up until he gets his Tesla machine, I was kind of on Team Robert's side. But then when he, like, his idea of sacrifice, so Alfred and Balin, the twins' idea of sacrifice is sacrificing themselves and inadvertently sacrificing the people who are closest to them. I think Fallon was just as in it as Alfred. You don't cut off your fingers on a whim. Like, he was just as much in it. It broke my heart to see him watch Sarah crumbling, but at the same time, he could have at any time stopped gaslighting her and let her know, because she knew something was going on, but she was being gaslit this whole time, which ultimately led to her fate. And he could have stepped in there, but he chose his brother and their show and their performance over the woman he loved. So I have a hard time kind of forgiving that situation. So Alfred just sucks. He's just a dick. He just had to say, I'm sorry. This movie could have been avoided if he had just been like, I'm sorry. Because he didn't just say, I don't remember what knot I tied, but he didn't say, I'm sorry. And he clearly was sorry. He was clearly really traumatized and broken up by Julia's death. And Carla, you're right. He very much was trying to get her out of that tank just as much as anybody else, because he was not, they weren't rivals quite yet at this point in the movie. They were in a show together who had differing ideals, and we see that throughout the show as far as sacrifice goes. So anyway, Alfred, Fallon, their sacrifices are much more personal sacrifices in their own bodies. Robert's sacrifices are, he's just willing to clone himself and just mercilessly kill versions of himself every single night to get the better trick. And that's kind of where Robert lost me. I'm like, you're just dropping him into drown? Like, I cannot think. Fire and drowning are like, those are the worst deaths I can possibly imagine. And you took the words of your friend who was trying to comfort you after your wife drowned to be like, yeah, it's just going home. To think that you were being somehow merciful to these men that you're just dropping into a water tank and then just throwing off into a warehouse. It's
It's
mess.
not like somebody sent your puppy off to the farm. You know what the farm means.
Yeah, I mean, we always know what the farm means. It's not a literal farm, but it's just, these are both very flawed individuals in a lot of pain and who are not dealing with their pain. They would rather lash out at each other than try and better themselves. Neither of them want to just be the better act through their own self-improvement. They want to tear the other person down so they can be better rather than just being better. I think Alfred and Fallon are further along in that path. Like, their whole thing is they want to create a trick that will confound other magicians, which is like the ultimate high for a magician. And Robert is just on a revenge path, and their relationship to each other is just obsessive, like so deeply obsessive. Robert sends a woman he loves away like chattel to Alfred, and then gets surprised when she doesn't take kindly to that notion. So it's just, I don't know. They do a good job. And yeah. Hugh Jackman was amazing in this movie also, and it hurt my heart to be like, to stop standing him for a little bit. Aaron is happy to hear it, I'm sure.
It's his acting. It's not him as a person. See, but hey, I get crap enough from you, so I figure this is.
I take it very personal. No, I'm just kidding.
So Paula, your thoughts?
This was the rivalry between them was like like Carlin makes it was obsessive, it was toxic, and it was really interesting because when everything started, you were kind of rooting for Hugh Jackman's character, for Robert, because you felt he had been not wronged necessarily, but he'd lost his wife to this horrific accident, and you felt bad for him, and you knew that Alfred had done something that he shouldn't have in that performance, even though Julia had encouraged him to do it. But it turned as soon as Robert went to that first performance of Alfred's and sabotaged that trick. That's when it started turning. Like, okay, he's a despicable person as well. And
it took me so much longer than that.
Oh no. As soon as he did that, I was like, no, I understand he was in, pain from losing his wife. He was upset. But as soon as he went to those extremes to hurt another person because of his anger, I was like, okay, now you're going a little too far. And then it just kept going. But Alfred and Fallon, they weren't exactly good people either, because of, with his wife, gaslighting her, and at any point that there was no trust there. They could have told her their secret and trusted her to keep it and been a part of it, instead of shutting her out and putting her in that horrible situation with not really knowing what she's going to get from one day to the next. And none of those three really were ultimately likable or good characters. I mean, good people. And it was sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. And they were all making sacrifices, but I was just thinking about this. The sacrifice that Robert was making was really, and when you think about it, horrific, because he wasn't sacrificed. I mean, even thinking that he was sacrificing a clone of himself, that's not really what was happening. He was the one that fell in that tank first and was cloned. And then it just kept repeating. So every time he did that, he was sacrificing himself, and and I guess trusting that the clone would carry on with the vengeance. And that's just horrifying. I can't even imagine being that bent on vengeance that you would just literally sacrifice yourself to it
Mhm.
in that very final way like that. That and not even, you know, because the original Robert wasn't the one that saw what happened at the end and saw um Alfred hanged and then died. He was already gone. And that's just mind blowing at this point. I mean, there's still these little things every time you watch it that you pick up on the whole movie from all of their performances, and it's one of the reasons why this movie is so fascinating. And because I'm not even I don't like magic shows. I don't I they bore me to tears. There's nothing interesting. I know it's an illusion. I know there's a trick to it, so it doesn't interest me. But this movie is fascinating on so many levels.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's not really even about magic, honestly. I
No,
mean, it's not
no,
really even about
ultimately.
that. Yeah. 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 And Mal said they saw this movie when it first came out in middle school. And this is making them realize they probably need to rewatch most movies they saw back then. They missed a lot. They didn't even know it was Hugh. That's hilarious.
I'm gonna
It's
leave our group chats, Mal.
it's on Amazon Prime right now, Mal, if you
Mhm.
want to watch it. So go watch it. And we might be doing a live tweet of it next Sunday to celebrate Christian Bale's birthday. So just let you know. So Tiff, your thoughts?
So everybody has outlined things so well. Totally in agreement. And it, when you realize that it's not even about professional increase and professional being the best at what you do, this is, I mean, it is just a back and forth revenge sequence after the death of Robert's wife. This is just, how can I get back at this person for what they did, which obviously they didn't do it on purpose. And I think we all can agree, though, if somebody had a hand in killing our spouse or our partner, that there would be some hell to pay. But at some point in time, you're doing more harm to yourself than you are to that other person. Um, the scene, oh gosh, the breaking of the leg, oh, the way that Nolan's direction, and the cinematography, because it's like, and then that, the crack from the leg, oh, it's intense, it's so intense. This whole movie is just like a lesson in intensity, no matter what, even when it's supposed to be lighthearted, when uh Alfred is explaining, the trick to the little boy to Sarah's nephew about the bird. And he's like, "Oh, look, the bird is fine." And then the other crushed bird is in the spot. I'm like, this movie is it's too much. It's too much. So, like you said, like Paula mentioned, these three characters, Alfred, Robert, and Fallon. They have limited redeemable qualities. Limited. You could say that, okay, perhaps Alfred's um, desire to be the best at what he does, maybe that's a positive at times. You could say Fallon's love for um, Jess and Sarah, those are positive things. Um, Robert's showmanship is a positive, but do their positives outweigh the awful, horrible people that they are? No, they don't, because they are all awful. Um, I do think that there are different. Uh, Robert is a murderer. He's killing himself over and over again, and clones of himself or killing clones of himself. It's quite confusing sometimes, Christopher Nolan. I don't know. I don't even know how to categorize that. If it's clone killing clone, or if it's clones killing the original of the clone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, Christopher Nolan, you confuse me. But then you've got Alfred and Fallon, who have completely, to the point of madness, driven Sarah insane. They drove her insane. They drove her to alcoholism, and they drove her to suicide. And all because of this stubbornness. And it's even worse than stubbornness. It's their mentality is it's us against the world.
It's just such a callous disregard.
It is. It is. So how, and that's why I can't even, I mean, does the Fallon character actually love, well, the softer twin, let's put it that way. Does a softer twin actually love her because he goes along with it? He continues to go along with it. He continues to play this farce, and which ultimately leads to her demise. Like, I put her suicide directly at the feet of Alfred and Fallon.
Oh,
It is direct. There is direct evidence to how she ends up because of how they acted toward her. And I can't even get started on that, on the affair with the other. Okay, I know we'll talk about that later. Sorry, it makes me gag.
Me too, because it's stupid.
It's so stupid.
And they have no chemistry.
And it's so blatantly obnoxious.
Yes.
Too. Like, he's
Yes.
so gross about it.
Yes. Oh, that the restaurant scene that Aaron talked about earlier.
Yeah, because it's like, so maybe you don't love Sarah, but you don't have any feelings of compassion for this person whatsoever.
I know.
Just even as a human being, that you're willing to just completely humiliate her.
Yep.
Like,
Exactly. Exactly. I
Yeah.
got real stabby at that point. I got real stabby. I was like, I need a knife.
Well, and even if he doesn't love Sarah, at least have the respect for your brother to not be an ass to his wife. I mean,
you.
come on.
That's true too. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
and
my
I think
gosh.
it is so messed up when you could like, they couldn't just be like, hey Sarah, we're gonna tell you this.
You
Yeah.
can't tell
There
anybody
are
else.
two of us, because then you have the whole conversation of consent, because she is not consenting
That's true too.
Yes. Yes.
to be in this bigamous relationship or poly relationship that she finds herself being in. And you're right, they gaslight her into alcoholism and suicide, because she's like, I know you're two different people, but you can't be two different people, because who hides a twin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normal people don't do that. Normal people don't hide twins.
And the
This
thing
is why I'm
is,
still Team Hugh Jackman.
they're both awful. The thing is, she would have probably been fine with it and gone along with it. That's the thing, because she loved him.
She
And
wanted a family.
yeah, and she
wanted
would
to
have
give
been
her a
fine.
family.
She was like intrigued with him from the beginning. So it's like, it's not like she wouldn't have gone along with it. I think she definitely would have been okay with it, because she wanted to know his tricks. And she kept wanting to know what the prestige was all the time in every magic trick he did. So I think she was very trustworthy. I think she would have been fine with it. She might have been a little bit annoyed with the competition and the dick measuring contest these guys did throughout this whole fucking movie. But I still think she would have been okay with it. So yeah. And Mal asked if, and I'm assuming this is for Robert, is he murderous or suicidal? I think he's murderous.
I mean, no, he's mostly murderous.
I think he's
There's a
murderous.
lot
Yeah.
of murder going on.
Because-
a lot of murder.
Yeah, I mean, him dying is just a thing that he had to accept as part of his desire to bring down Alfred. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I have to die a few times for this to happen, but I'm willing to do it just to clown this guy.
Well, and it's so
And, like,
it's
And
so
it's
messed
murder.
Up. Yeah, it's so messed
Yeah.
up, because even like at the end when he's finally actually dying because he gets shot and he doesn't, or when he's talking to Cutter and Cutter tells him, oh no, it's agonizing to drown,
Mhm.
because obviously you only drown once. So he's never actually really sacrificing himself. Like, his clone is always sacrificing somebody else. And he says sometimes he was the man in the box, sometimes he was the man in the balcony. So sometimes I feel like they switched out a little bit. It's just so messed up. And he just was so unfeeling and so blinded by not even vengeance, because he didn't even care about his wife anymore. He just had to be better. And he
Yeah.
couldn't be better on his own merit. He had to just tear down the professor.
He had to be better. Right, but he had to be better. And his final Gambit was leading people to believe that that Alfred killed him. Like that was his whole point. He
And that
didn't
was so
care
messed up.
about anything else. You know,
Oh yeah.
he baited him specifically so that this man would show up, try to desperately find out what the trick was,
Mhm.
lure he's luring him down to watch him fall into the tank. He doesn't care about anything else.
Well, and then bringing Cutter into it and tearing and breaking Cutter's heart. Because as far as Cutter was concerned until the end, he watched his protege drowning because of this rivalry. And I think Cutter even realized that Alfred was trying to get him out. Alfred was not just standing there watching him drown as we're given to believe in the beginning of the movie. He finds something and he's trying to break him out.
Mm-hmm.
And for Cutter, he still testified against him. But they all three hurt so many people in the name of what?
Well, what this whole movie I think is about, and then we're going to move on from these two because of time, and we're actually going to just go to the characters, to the other characters. What I think this whole movie is about is obsession. It's just completely about obsession. They're both obsessed with different things, and they're both horrible people. I will be honest, and I wasn't rooting for either of them any of the times, except for I was rooting for Fallon before I knew who Fallon was, and I was rooting for Jess, and I was rooting for Sarah. And no, I didn't care about anybody else, honestly. As far as like thinking like they should win, I thought Robert was an egotistical ass from the very beginning. He did not care. He cared about his wife to an extent, but he also wanted ownership of her. I mean, she wanted to have a say in the way they did the magic tricks, and he didn't want to have any say. And I know a lot of that was concern, but I also feel like he was very controlling. He wanted to be the best, so that was his obsession. And when she died, I honestly do not think he would have forgiven. If Alfred would have said, "I'm sorry," I don't think he would have given a crap. I still think he would have been just as obsessive. Apology would have done nothing for him, because even if it had happened where even Alfred hadn't tied the knot or done anything, I think he would have blamed Alfred no matter what, because he was looking for someone to blame. And then he turned that into obsession, where he even says in there he doesn't care about his wife's death, that it's not even about her, because it's not about her at all. It's about being the best, besting Alfred because he's in competition with him, because he knows Alfred is the better magician. He's just the better showman. And so he wants to be able to combine that two and be the better at both of them. And so he's trying to figure that out. And so that's his obsession. And so that's really what this movie boils down to, is these two men's obsessions and how they tear everybody around them apart, even the people that are alive. I will say, of the twins, the one to survive, I think is the better one to survive, because I think that's better for Jess in the long run, for the daughter in the long run. But they're both horrible because they did this horrible thing. And imagine Jess when she grows up, and when she inevitably finds out about it, which I'm sure she will, imagine her heartbreak of knowing this is what happened, and how confusing that must be to her too. So it's also gaslighting your own daughter, and it's a horrible thing to do. And they're both just not very good men. And and in a way, that's kind of what I appreciate about this movie, to be honest, because you don't have like a hero among the two. It's not saying one man is better than the other, because they're not. They have their own obsessions in the own way that they show them throughout. So, and they're besting each other, but at the same time, they're besting each other at the cost of everybody else that they supposedly love and that love them. And once again, all Alfred had to do was say, "Sarah, look, this is my big thing." And she would have gone along with it.
Yeah.
I do not think there would have been a second where she probably would have been like, "Okay, stop being a dick." But I don't think she would have had a problem with it. And she would have been like, she didn't even like
They would have
the
been so much
Alfred Cold
happier.
stuff. Yeah, she would have been like, "Okay, you can go and be with annoying Olivia." I'm sorry, I don't like Olivia, but you can go do that or whatever. So it's like, it's so ridiculous, because it would have been so easy, but because they're so wrapped up in their obsession that they can't see. No one can see through their obsession to see anything else beyond that. That's why this movie really isn't about magic at all. It's just about that obsession. So, yeah. Okay, so I do for time because we're only on the first couple of things and we're already an hour and I really don't want this to be like 10-hour long. We're going to go to the other characters. I want to do the women first because we've been mentioning them a little bit and I think it's important to talk about the women in this film because I'm very mixed on the way women are treated in this movie, as with a lot of Christopher Nolan movies. So let's start with, we'll talk about Olivia, Sarah, and Julia. We'll just talk about all three of them. Who Olivia is played by Scarlett Johansson, which is might be part of the reason I don't like her. I
She
don't
wasn't
know.
awful at this time quite yet.
That doesn't mean that I
No,
just
I know. I'm just on tip of her thumbs.
yeah, and we had mentioned a while ago, we were talking about on here how much we love Piper Parable and how nobody ever mentions her and talks about her and what an amazing actress she is. And that's who plays Julia. She's not in here very long. And then the outstanding, amazing, incredible, fantastic Rebecca Hall, who gets no attention in this flippin' world. She is such a fantastic actress. Go watch The Night House. Go watch Christine. Go. She is so flippin' good. Okay, sorry. I just had to get that out because she deserves a lot more adulation than she gets. So, and it's amazing because I always forget that she is actually British and she's not American. But yeah, so let's talk about the women in this film. So, Carla, what are your thoughts about the women in the film?
Well, just like in so many movies, they're just there to kind of help the men come to a conclusion or to drive them and to spur them on or whatever the case may be. The case can be made that the most fleshed out one is Sarah because I think it's true. I think she's the one who gets the most meaty role in this and well deserved because she's not just there to be a wife and mother. She also has dreams and ambitions of her own, even though they end up getting kind of pushed to the back burner because of her husband's own ambition. Um, and I just I it was so sad watching her become more, fall more and more into despair because she didn't deserve to be treated like that. She didn't deserve to have this trick played on her from her first date with this man where, she closes the door on him and oh, he's in her apartment. It's oh, it's so mean. It was so mean of them to do this. I don't know if, the one actually had like the love at first sight and it's like, okay, bro, I'm gonna take her out. And it's like, okay, bro, but I'm gonna sleep with her. Okay, cool. Like, how does that work out in their minds that it's fine to do this to somebody, to another human being? Like, why did it ever seem like an acceptable thing in their minds? So she just deserved so much more. Um it Both she and Julia are sacrificed for the men, for to give them something to do or to grieve about or whatever. Because Julia, she was bright and she sparkled and she knew what she wanted to do, but it's a man's world, and definitely more so at that point in time in a boys club of magic where women are just allowed to be pretty. And that's exactly the position that she was in. She wanted to do more in that small space that she was given. It's like, okay, you get to be pretty and not drown. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna get out of this really complicated knot though. And I could definitely do it. And the fact that Cutter and Robert both vetoed the idea um of her and Alfred practicing with a more difficult knot, that right there is a big reason she died, because if she had had the time to really practice that and not just go for it live, she may not have died. And so, like, the men's need to control the women's worlds and their ultimately their fates, it's a it's a recurring thing that I think movies uh, kind of end up doing, that they don't necessarily know what they're doing because they want to show it as like, okay, this is just what needs to happen to drive the story forward. Okay, but you're basically just stating what we already know, that to you women are disposable. Um, and that's the story on Julia and Sarah. Now Olivia, she's just there to be the mistress. She's there to, because if you can't die for a man, then at least you can screw him. Like, be good for something. It's like, give him a child, give him something to cry about, or be hot, and that's it. Those are your um that's where you can shine, and that's the only way you can shine. Olivia, listen, Scarlett Johansson, not as great as people like to say that she is. She's an okay actor. She's okay. It's not like I can sit there and be like, wow, she really brought out all of these different things in this role. No, she was just hot. That's it. She uh the character falls in love with the one guy and then falls in love with the other guy, and that's, I think, just the movie trying to say that this is yet another example of them one-upping each other, and um, how this one guy got cheated out of something else. So again, it's just using her as an accessory for either man, whoever has her at the time. Um, but yeah, like, it was really messed up that she just goes and sits down at the table, knowing that she's sleeping with the dude, calling him Freddie in front of his wife, and then being like, "Why is she mad at me?" Okay, come on, you
I
cannot
know.
be this clueless. Just I did not care what happened to her
I hated
at
her.
all.
I
Yeah,
would have flipped every
yeah.
table in that restaurant. I'm sorry.
I know, man. She,
Freddie, what is this Freddie business?
and she was doing it like in a way that was like rubbing it in her in her
Yes!
face, man.
yes.
I'm like,
Even going was so messed up.
yes.
Yes.
He's
Yes,
like, hey, I'm gonna go
absolutely.
have dinner with my wife. You should come along. I'd be like,
Right.
I gotta wash
I
my
mean,
hair.
okay, yeah. It's like by this
My
time you
hair.
know you're a mistress. You're a side
Right.
piece, you're a side chick. Have some decency, though. Be the
Yes.
quiet
Be
mistress.
subtle about it at least.
Yes,
God
but there was
damn.
no subtlety.
Instead of rubbing it in
the,
her.
the two
Yeah.
men, the two men are just like, "Oh, we're going on a date night with our girls." What in the hell? The whole thing was so messed up. But yeah, I did not care about Olivia one way or the other. I was like, why couldn't she be the one to die for man pain, not Sarah, if somebody had to die? But that didn't happen
Yeah.
because clearly she did not matter to the writers even as much as Sarah kind of
There was not
did.
enough man pain.
There was no, you know what? It was just the right amount of man pain, and Scarlett Johansson. They were like, you know what? 2 is enough. We've killed 2 women. We've done our job.
No more killing the women.
This one
Yeah,
will
that's
let
the
live.
sequel. In the sequel.
It's okay. Yeah, exactly. We'll kill her in the next one. It's fine. We'll get her
The
eventually.
Prestige 2.
Yeah.
It's just card tricks in a bar. It's just my husband when he gets drunk and does card tricks for shots in the bar.
I just want to go to a couple of things Mal was said. And thank you, Mal, for mentioning the movie The Gift. Nobody ever talks about this movie. This is a fantastic
That
film.
movie. Oh.
Well, there are 2 The Gift movies.
Oh, okay.
This movie is directed by Joel Edgerton, and it's also with Jason Bateman. So it's not the one about the psychic.
No. Like, I know that
Okay.
there are 2 The Gifts.
Yeah. I just didn't know. I was trying to remember which gift she was talking about, and then I was like, oh yeah, she was in that one. Yes. So I just clarify that because I think people, maybe it was the name that made people not see this movie as much, but it's so good, and she's really good in it. Jason Bateman, talk about 2 men who are completely. Jason Bateman is such an asshole in that movie. He's so good, and Joel Edgerton is. I have a thing about Joel Edgerton. I love Joel Edgerton, and he is so flippin' creepy in that movie. Go watch that movie. It is so good. And
Edgerton.
poor Rebecca Hall's character in that movie is She's treated kind of like Sarah is treated. Honestly, it's kind of a comparable movie in that respect. So, but I think it's really good. And Joel Edgerton directed that one. I think he wrote it too. It's really good. Um, so go check it out. And then the other gift one is really good too. The one with Kate Blanchett is really good too. So I love both of them.
The other one's all right too.
No, I love both of them about the same. They're both very different, but I like them both the same. And then, with as far as a polyam relationship, I don't know if Sarah would have necessarily wanted that. I don't think that would have been what they would have done. I just think it would have been more that they could have been happier,
Well,
and
I'm
Alfred could have
wondering-
been with Olivia. I don't think he cared about Olivia. I think he just was getting his rocks off. But I mean, he said he did, but I don't think he did.
Well,
but
I kind of feel like in general, as they got further along, like Alfred was the one who was with Olivia, and Fallon was the one who was like with Sarah. So they kind of kept that separate as far as like the affair
Sleeping.
goes. I feel like if Fallon is in love with Sarah, he's not gonna be.
Oh no, I don't think he slept with Olivia at all.
Yeah.
No.
So that's what I'm saying with the polyam or the
Yeah, I don't think they would have
polycules
been.
and stuff like that. I think
No, they
Sarah would have
wouldn't
been fine being like, I understand that there's two of you. Can I have the one that loves me?
Yeah, it would have never been. Yeah, there would have never been a relationship like that with them ever with
Yeah.
with their characters. I don't think they would have been. Sorry. So Meg, your
Mhm.
thoughts on the win?
Yeah, I'm a little more charitable to Olivia, I think, than a lot of people are. I think all of these women were sacrificed to Robert and the brothers. What the hell's their last name? Baron or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To their obsessions and ambitions. They were all sacrificed. Olivia did not hop into this to be a mistress to anybody. She was looking for a job. She fell in love with Robert. He never actually really let her in. So she was loving someone who was obsessive and not really there. And is that on her a little bit? Sure. But you fall in love with someone and, it happens. And I think she was legitimately devastated that he sent her off to be a spy and to do whatever she needed to do to get involved with Alfred and to figure out what's going on. She was sacrificed, maybe not her life, but her body and her autonomy. And she was basically sold like a piece of meat. And I feel like that's something that is glossed over a little bit because Julia and Sarah both die. But Olivia was also collateral damage. And she was also in a position where she didn't have any power. She wielded the power that she did have. Do I think she was a great person? No. Do I think she should have gone to that dinner? Hell no. Like, holy shit. Then she gets there. She goes, oh my gosh, why is this so dramatic, you guys? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you're at your boyfriend and his wife's at dinner.
Why is everybody upset with me? I don't get it.
I don't understand. I just
And she
think
Frenches
you have
him at the table. She doesn't
champagne
really
and she
do.
licks his dick. No. I didn't say the whole word. Doesn't count. Julia breaks my heart, but it's also a lot of her own ambition is kind of what caused her downfall because she was insistent. She's the one who insisted that he use that knot that they hadn't practiced in the live show. And frankly, at this point in this show, what does it matter what kind of knot you use? He is clearly a plant. It doesn't matter if it's a slip knot or anything. He can pretend it's super duper secure and you're fine. You don't have to have the more challenging knot. But at the same time, she was dealing with all of these men and fucking men.
That's the other thing about this movie.
Men. But the one who really breaks my heart in this movie is Sarah, because that was the most tragic thing I think about this entire movie, because her death was so preventable. It would have taken one conversation. And I completely agree, Erin. I think she would have been like, okay, I am fine pretending that there is only one of you. But her whole life, she fell in love with a man who she was assumed was sometimes in love with magic more than her, but they're actually two people. And like I said, she never consented to be having a marriage with two different men. And this whole life, and she's gaslit, and you can tell she's right on the cusp of understanding exactly what it is, but it's so fantastical that she thinks she's going insane and she kills herself. And it's just, Sarah really breaks my heart. Like, it just, and I understand that Fallon loved her, but how much can you love someone if you're so dishonest? Like, how much can you actually love a person if you're willing to hide so much from them and not trust them with that? And it just, I think she was really the only, her and Jess, I feel like, were the only two that I really, really felt heartbroken for when this movie was done, because they really were collateral damage. They had no idea what they were getting into. Olivia at least knew what she was getting into when she was sent to go spy on Alfred. And then, of course, she falls in love with him too. I don't know why. None of them have redeeming qualities, except they're both hot.
That's all it takes, Meg.
That's it. That's all you need.
That's
Is
all
a
you
six
need.
pack and to brood.
And to brood.
Give me a tragic backstory and a six pack. I can have all the women.
That's all it takes. Paula, your thoughts on the women?
We're so fun.
To piggyback a little bit on what Meg was saying, also, how much can you love somebody if you're going to stand by and watch them be abused? 'Cause that's
Exactly.
basically what
Yeah.
was happening.
Yes. Yep.
And that's just what's part of what's so heartbreaking about it, because she was so smart in the fact she basically had it figured out. She just wasn't sure exactly what it was, but she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Olivia, I think that character was just unnecessary, to be honest. She didn't really add anything except for more conflict for Sarah and Fallon and Alfred. And that was odd too, because when you see her with Robert, she seems very understanding, and the fact that he's still supposedly mourning his dead wife. But then when she's with Alfred and Fallon, she's very callous towards his wife. And that just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And I didn't feel like Olivia really added anything to the movie. If she hadn't been there, it wouldn't have changed anything, I don't think.
Yeah, I think she was added just to create
agree.
more conflict and to further gaslight Sarah.
Yeah.
Because on Sarah's got one hand, her husband telling her, no, there's nothing going on between me and Olivia. And then she goes to this dinner where he's basically like groping
Flaunting
her in front of her.
Yeah, flaunting the mistress in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And with Julia, she that was a hard scene. She was basically trying to prove herself by wanting to do that knot. And yeah, if they hadn't decided for her that that they didn't need to do that, she would have had the time to practice it and be as safe as something like that could be at that point in time. But she was also the one that was really doing all the work in that trick to begin with. So why are we not listening to her? Oh yeah, because she's a woman. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Whatever.
It was so
She's just there
frustrating.
again to look pretty.
Like the magician is just like, I present you this girl.
Yeah.
These two men are going to tie her up, and then she's going to get out of it.
Yeah. He literally just walks around the
Yes!
tank
Yes.
and is like
She does all
does
the
the Vanna
work.
White thing. And
She's the
she
one who
does all
does
the work.
everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, maybe listen to the one that's, actually doing the work. I don't know. But no, yeah.
And Tiff.
Okay, so Julia. Yeah, I think Julia did have like you all said, she did have designs of being seen as more than just a pretty face, as more than just a sidekick to the magic. She wanted to be seen as a competent part of the actual show. Like she is part of the show, not just the side piece of the show. And that did lead to her demise. Like, I mean, hey, if I'm sitting in an audience and I'm seeing somebody get their hands tied into a knot, put into a tank, and then they have to get out, I'm going to be impressed no matter what. I don't care what the knot looks like. What am I?
You don't even have to tie it in a knot. Drop them in a tank, and if they come out, I'm pretty excited.
Hello. I mean, what are we, sailors? Do we know what a knot is?
Yeah.
No way. I don't care. I think it's impressive either way. You got out of the tank. Wow. You are bad, lady. You are a bad mama jamma.
I'm really excited when anyone gets out of a pool. I'm like, way to go, you guys. You made it. It's the deep end and everything. You're not even using the ladder.
So so the idea of her, essentially pushing through her own demise, that's really disappointing and really upsetting to me, because I see why she thought she had to do that. But also the idea of Robert kind of pushing that by the wayside, in his grief, which turned out to be not grief, but really just kind of vengeance overall, because we understand people grieve in different ways, but I don't think he was honoring the memory of his wife at all. There was zero honor going on with that. I agree with you, Paula. Olivia served absolutely no purpose, absolutely zero purpose. I think you all know how I feel about Scarlett Johansson as an actor. That's how I feel about.
Has she done problematic things?
I mean, I am not certain of it, but I think there has been a hint of impropriety in the things that she said in the past. I mean, just a little bit. If it's not if it's not the support of a known pedophile, then it's also the idea that I can play an Asian woman, even though I'm a white woman.
It can't be the appropriation.
I mean, hey.
No
She
way.
did apologize.
She apologized.
Which meant
it.
nothing. She was only doing it to cover her ass.
She's gonna play a tree in a movie, and it's gonna be.
And we're gonna forget all about it, because she'll be a tree American. Awesome job as a tree. Anyway, though, that dinner, and I know I'm going to talk about that ad nauseum, because that dinner, I swear, had I been at a table next to them and I see this is going on and I see the blatant disrespect, I'm coming over the top.
Taking their bread rolls
with my steak knife, and I'm flashing somebody. I'm like, Sarah, move out the way. I got you, girl. I got you. I got your back.
It's okay, baby. I'm gonna kill them all.
I'm gonna kill them all, though.
That's hilarious.
I can't.
You enjoy your wine, Sarah.
Yeah. Just sit back, Sarah. I got this. Because I mean, who does something like that? Who does something like that? And Paula, you hit the nail on the head with how she treated Robert, or how she acted as Robert's girlfriend, versus how this, screechy, harpy, banshee, leechy barnacle on Alfred, who is like legitimately married, has a kid, and this is how you act.
Does it make you wonder what Alfred was saying to her about Sarah? Because he doesn't love Sarah.
Yeah,
so he's just like, yeah, I gotta go home and deal with my wife. No, I'm not justifying it at all, but I'm just
no. What I'm thinking is that it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think more importantly, Olivia didn't have to contend with Julia being alive. So it's very
Yeah.
easy
Yeah.
to be sympathetic when you
Yeah.
don't actually have the human being to be jealous of.
Well, and I
Right.
think that's so interesting because a lot of times you think about how much harder it is to compete with a ghost because when someone dies, they're automatically vaulted into sainthood.
Not for Olivia. And don't forget the man wrote this.
Yeah, Olivia's just like, no,
Well,
it's
and-
fine. You can miss your wife. Look at my boobies.
Well, obviously he didn't miss her for very long.
Look at my tatas. It's okay. You can be sad for Julia Gulia.
Not Julia
God.
Gulia.
Carla and I have been talking about Julie's and Julia's for like nonstop for the past 3 weeks.
You're on Julia and Julia overload. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I mean,
And I prepare both.
So Dev, keep going with the women.
yeah. So my ultimate, all of my sympathy, all of my empathy is rolled up into Saren and in extension Jess as well, because as you have said, the gaslighting, the cruelty, the disregard, the callousness in which they're treated by Alfred and Fallon. Fallon, you're gonna get this smoke too. You're getting this smoke too, because as Paula said, you're sitting there and you're letting them both be abused. But except especially Sarah, as they continue on, her descent into madness continues, and it's something that's so easily remedied. It's so easily remedied. Because like you said, Paula, she's right there. She knows it's there. She knows what it is. She just, like you said, she can't put words to it because, like Meg said, who hides a twin? Who hides a brother? Who hides a sibling? Who does that? Nobody with any ounce of sense actually does that sort of thing. And it becomes too much. It becomes too much. And her death is completely preventable. Completely preventable. There's no reason that she should be deceased in this film. There's literally no reason. And it's all because of the ambition and vengeance and hatred of 3 men.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd now like to introduce you to my twin, who's been
Karen.
episodes.
This is my twin Karen. I have a twin.
Guess which
Megan.
episodes she's been on and which episodes I've been
Aaron
on.
and it's Marin.
Yes. The reason I wanted to cover this movie is so I could finally reveal this truth to all of you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
No wonder
Jeez,
you're
I've been
so hot and
deceived.
cold. No.
The times I've liked you and the times I haven't.
Wait, there's a time you didn't like me?
I wasn't talking about you.
I take it all personally. I'm a Cancer.
Yes. Dang water signs.
So much drama.
So the women are, like in a lot of Christopher Nolan movies, women are an afterthought. And I do want to say, I think it's just what really pisses me off about this movie. This is like something that pisses me off a lot in movies, certain movies, is Rebecca Hall is definitely the biggest. She has the biggest role here. She's in here the most of all the women. And she's not billed first among the women. It's Scarlett Johansson. And I that may seem petty, but I don't think it is, because she deserves more credit, and it's just because they were banking on the billable star. I get it, it's a business, whatever, but that really irritates the hell out of me, because she is really, honestly, if you look at it, between her and Cutter, they are the 2 biggest supporting characters in this whole movie. And so it's really frustrating to me that she didn't get the same respect. I don't think it just plays into her character, but it's because she's not blonde.
And you gotta look at 2006, and this is like ScarJo's. Like,
I know that. I know. That's what I'm saying.
sucks.
That's what I said was because the bankable thing, but it still is annoying, and that happens all the time, and it is so frustrating to me. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because it irritated me again in this when I was watching the end credits, and I was like, So I'll do the Olivia is my least favorite, and Olivia is just thinly written. She's just not really written very well. She's just written to be there as eye candy, really. And You know, regardless of ScarJo and her talent or no talent or whatever, it still is a poorly written character, and it wouldn't matter who was playing it. I mean, it's really like she's just eye candy, and she's just there. And frankly, honestly, I don't think she has chemistry with either man in this movie. So it's like I could not believe either relationship. I'm like,
She's busy having
seriously?
chemistry with herself.
Yes. Yeah.
And her tree friend.
Yeah, she's busy having chemistry with herself is a good way to put it. Yes, yes, because she doesn't have any chemistry with either of them. It's just, you know, that does mean something. Casting directors and people out there, it does mean something. Just because they're a bankable star doesn't mean they're going to have chemistry with somebody. I think, I think Piper Perabo had chemistry with Hugh. I think she even had chemistry with Christian. And I think Rebecca Hall definitely had chemistry with Bale, and very different mixed up chemistry, but it was good.
Malice
The tree thing is because you know, because Scarlett Johansson, you know, she does a lot of appropriation and does it a lot. And so it became a big and jump in anybody if I'm not explaining, but it became a big joke that basically she would just play a tree. She'll do anything. She
It's
doesn't give a crap.
it's she'll take roles that if they're roles that are based on previously created characters or real life people that are a different ethnicity or race, she'll just take those roles because I can't explain it. I don't know why.
Because to her, being a good actor means that you can act outside of your
Transcend.
race. Yeah, you can transcend outside of your race or ethnicity.
Transcend. And she feels like whitewashing is the same as giving representation to historically perceived white characters. Like she would view playing Ghost in the Shell as the same as the actors playing in Hamilton. Like she would view those as equal level, which is so messed up and so wrong on a lot of levels. But then the joke is that she'll just be a tree. She'll just be an ent because she can represent trees better than trees can represent trees. Like it'll be a whole bunch of ents in Lord of the Rings, and then ScarJo with brown bark makeup being like, I too am a tree. And that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think, and wasn't she in talks also to play a trans character as well? And then she and she backed out in the backlash. She quit because she felt bad, and she just, you know, her publicist and all her managers were like, you gotta stop this because it's looking bad for your image. It's not something that she really gives a crap about. But anyway,
backing out message was about how she's like, I feel like a trans character should be portrayed by a trans actor, and it had nothing to do with her morals or her ethics. It had 100% to do with her publicist being like, this is going to be bad for your brand. The backlash is too strong.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's where the tree comes in.
Yeah, so we're not fans of her, obviously, on this.
The tree's just a joke.
So yeah, but anyway, so she's but the character of Olivia is so thinly written that she really doesn't, like you said, Paula, she doesn't need to be in this movie. There's no reason for her to be in this movie except for eye candy and maybe and for the dinner scene.
The perfect
and there's no reason at all for her to be in here at all. So yeah, and then Julia, I feel really bad for Julia because I think she's definitely collateral damage in some ways too, because she's kind of like she wants to be part of this team that they were at first having, this team of with Alfred and Robert and her. It was like they were a team, and she kind of was getting left out of that and out of the conversations, and she ends up being this enigma and this excuse for Robert's obsession. And that's a horrible way to honor her memory, or to not honor her memory, to use her as a scapegoat for your obsession. And that's what she ended up becoming. And let's just give Piper Perabo more stuff to do. That's it. That's all I want to say. Because I love her. I've loved her for years, and she deserves a lot more respect. And then Sarah, oh, poor Sarah. Sarah just breaks my heart because she is so pure and she just loves this man so much. And we've already talked about how she's being gaslit through this whole thing, and just that has to be so painful to love someone as much as she loves him, and to every once in a while not feel that love back, and to feel instead hatred back. And like you see, it's like he almost resents her, even though it's not her fault in any way, shape, or form. But it's like he resents her as the movie goes on, and it's so painful and so hard to see, and it breaks my heart what it led to, because it also hurts her daughter tremendously in the end. And it's just such an abusive relationship. She's so abused, just because, remember, abuse doesn't have to be just physical. And she is completely abused throughout this and treated horribly. And the performance, Rebecca Hall, like I said before, she is fan flippin' tastic, man. She is such a great actress. She is such a great actress. She's so subtle, yet not. And this could have been really over the top and way too much to watch. She could have been just like way too dramatic, and she wasn't. She played this perfectly. She played the progression of this character of feeling abandoned. Like in the beginning, when she, like the first time she says the love line, she's almost like kind of, she doesn't seem as upset about it. She's almost like, it's kind of this cool little thing where I kind of know. And then as it goes on, she's like, no, this is fucked up, man. Love me. Always love me. Hey, porn bot.
Love me, always love me.
We are only Team Von Rell in this house.
Well, not whatever that was.
Sorry, Moon Norris.
Thanks for stopping by. We've missed you all. Not really. Yeah, we haven't seen you in quite a while there, porn bodies. But yeah, so she breaks my heart, and I just want to hug her, and I just want to somehow make her feel better. And I wish I could just be like, you could be like, this guy's a flippin' piece of trash. Leave him. But yeah, it's sad. And then
block you, Mal.
no, I saw who it was who did it. But once again, the performance just is incredible. And please go watch The Night House if you want to see. It's another thing that also deals with suicide, just to let you know, because it's all about Rebecca Hall's character dealing with her husband committed suicide. I mean, it's a horror movie, so there's a lot of supernatural elements to it, but she is so fantastic in that movie, because a lot of times she's just acting just with herself, no one else. So it's a really good one. I highly recommend that. Okay, so we will talk about Tesla. We will talk about David Bowie. Don't worry. But let's talk about I am Team Carleg and Team Mal forever. Hey, Jesse. Megan, you are absolutely shining as usual. And Aaron, hello. And insert. Yeah, okay. Finn Whitrock joke here. Someday those will just stop, and then I can stop feeling shame every time I'm about to mention that person. Okay, so let's get on to John Cutter, who of course is played by Michael Caine, who appears in practically every single Christopher Nolan movie. And he's very Michael Caine, as always.
Yes. Listen, the reason I keep tripping over the name Alfred is because I keep, from Batman. I'm like, wait, which one is Alfred in this movie again?
I know. So, Carla, your thoughts?
Did somebody mention a cutter?
Christian's coming. Hey, Christian.
Did somebody mention a cutter? Well, I am here to speak today about a sacrifice that I made for this movie, for this role. You see, do you see my fingers?
Yes, you really
this hand has all fingers, yet the other hand does not.
Oh my gosh, Christian.
I feel like you've lost a lot of weight, Christian.
My weight does what it wants. This is all about the role. I do. Well, no, this was my machinist body. This is today my body for the
Oh,
Prestige.
I see you have the cape.
Well, no,
And
that was the suit from Equilibrium.
yes. Yes. And I asked to have a cape for the Prestige, and they told me no. They said it was cheesy. All magicians do not wear capes. And I'm like, why not? But anyway, let's talk about my fingers. For you see, I too was so dedicated that I had my 2 fingers cut off, and then we filmed all of the scenes in which I had no fingers in one day very quickly. And then I had my fingers put back on at a nearby hospital.
Christian, your devotion, your the way you just give your all to your roles, it's pretty incredible. But you stop cutting off stuff to
Look,
it's not
listen,
necessary.
it was the early 2000s, and we all did things we're not proud of.
Wait,
That's true. You
Christian,
did a couple of things I know you're not proud of.
did you enjoy working with
Correct.
my husband, Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman was a delight. In fact, I say when he walks in the room, Hugh, you got jacked, man. Because of his stunning physique.
Another great pun, Christian. You are just
Thank you,
man.
thank
You need
you.
to be in a real comedy soon. Seriously.
Oh, I would love to. However, there are no comedies that require a lot of transformation coming my way. Therefore, I am not that interested at this time.
No one can pay for his smile.
No, my smile is for
Your
free.
smile is amazing. I do want to ask you one question, Christian, about this movie.
Of course.
Now I did see an interview with you and Hugh Jackman, and you were talking about magic tricks, and you would only learn certain parts of a magic trick, so you'd learn the end or the beginning or the middle. And you wanted to learn more. I know you said that because of you wanted to go to child's parties to, for your kids and be able to do magic tricks. Both of you did. So have you since then, have you learned any magic tricks that you might be able to share with us, or you can share them next week? I won't say the B word, but you can share them next
Thank
week.
you.
But, yeah, because I know the Welsh tradition. I know, but
Of course.
so were there any magic tricks, Christian?
I cannot reveal until I am in another film that requires my talent in that way, and then you shall know it all, Erin. You shall know it all.
I like how she's Erin.
I know. I love the way Christian says my name. Well, thank you again, Christian. And I know next Sunday is something very special. I'm not saying the word because I know the Welsh thing of, not
Yes.
jinxing it.
Don't curse me.
But I do want to say I have had so much fun diving into some of your films. We haven't gotten through all of them. We definitely will continue this. So I really just appreciate you coming on. And I know, you've gotten a little bit better about the marshmallow intake, I hear. So, but, anytime you want to stop by my house too, we've got marshmallows, dogs, bring the whole family.
Yeah.
It'll be
Christian,
fun.
I want to visit
What a
Carla
delight!
at some point, so get off her couch so I have somewhere to sleep.
Megan, I am more than willing to share. I am on a thin side these days, therefore there will be plenty of room on the fold-out sofa.
Last time I saw you, I was pregnant.
I do not recall that. That's not my child. I do not want to discuss this. Is this Megan? Are you paparazzi?
That's really, really funny because I used to joke that I was going to say that my baby was Johnny Depp or Christian Bale's baby because I found out I was pregnant right before I started, like the day before I started filming.
Well, I have nothing further to say. Good night, ladies. It has been a delight.
Wait, well, you missed what Mal said then, Christian, but that's okay.
Oh, what did they say?
Mal, they said that my house has more than marshmallows. You may not leave.
Is this a voluntary not leave?
It would be very voluntary. I believe in consent.
Oh, then I am delighted to visit. Ta-ta
Okay.
for now.
Ta-ta. See you later. Oh, that Christian.
Well, Jesse's looking for Carla, so I hope she shows. Oh, there she is.
I got my camera back eventually. You know how that goes.
So that Christian man, his puns are getting better. That Hugh got
You know,
Jack man. That was pretty
Hugh
great.
Jack, man.
it's my husband's influence. What can I say?
That was pretty incredible. So Carla, your thoughts
Yes.
on John
Right. So I was
Cutter?
going to talk about Cutter. All right. So Cutter, I don't have a lot of sympathy for him because he was absolutely willing to steamroll Alfred right along with Robert. And he knew what Robert was about. He knew the entire time that it was a bad road to go on. And he had a choice. At any point, he could have said, listen, this is not a good thing. And yes, he stayed behind in London when um, Robert went to America to hang out with Tesla. Um, and like that's great, but then he was still party to all of the shenanigans that happened when he came back with that machine. Um, and yes, he was kept in the dark about what actually was happening with the trick and everything like that, but he still knew that he was trying to reel in Alfred. So whether he knew the mechanics of it is not important because he knew that the result was that Alfred was going to go down one way or the other. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for him. Now, he is clearly very devoted to Robert throughout the movie. He wanted to he loves the business. He loves magic. For him, like that's the big deal. It's like he's what do they call him? It's not an Imagineer. That's a Disney thing, right?
He's an
It's like
illusioneer or something.
illusion,
Yeah, something
something
like
like
that.
that. Yeah,
The
Illusionist.
illusionist.
He was
Illusionist.
Pioneer.
Yes, an illusionist.
That's why there was the competition.
That's what
Watch
it
me
must have
grow
been.
an orange tree out of my palm.
Yes, but he really wanted to further the craft, and for some reason he decided to back Robert, even though he knows that Alfred is the better magician. That didn't make any sense to me, except that you know he felt sorry for Robert for Julia dying. So I think mostly it was like a guilt thing, like oh this poor guy lost his wife, and I kind of was like part of it because you know standing there with a stopwatch and not really doing very much until the very end. But yeah, and it really is like such a Michael Caine performance, and I love that about this role. Like I everything else, like I'm just like blah blah blah, but it's Michael Caine being Michael Caine, and it's fantastic.
Yes, yes. Just briefly, this has nothing to do with Party 2 Shenanigans is Jesse's debut rap album featuring you, Meg, huh?
Yeah,
So you rap?
I'm a very gifted rapper.
Okay, so you
I
want to
only
wrap
use
your
3
thoughts
pieces
about
of tape.
that was pretty good. So you don't want to rap then about John Cutter?
No, I don't want to, but I have a lot of sympathy for Cutter. Like, and you're true. This could be Cider House Rules. This could be Batman. This could be The Prestige. It's Michael Caine being Michael Caine. I feel like his heart was broken about Julia dying, and I think part of him held Alfred responsible for that death because he did not know that Alfred had twins, or that Alfred was a twin, not had twins.
Like
That
what?
Alfred was a twin. He didn't know that. But I think he felt a lot of sympathy for Robert and his pain, and okay, Jesse, shut up. I love you so much. Stop it. With the spoilers. It's been 15 years.
Yeah. It's on
That's
you,
it.
Jesse.
And no one made you join. I made you join. No. But no, I have a lot of feelings for him because he was there for a healthy, real professional competition. Like he was happy to do that. He was very concerned once it got to be more and more personal, and then it got to this point where he got shot, and he's like, you know what? I'm done. You go to America, you find Tesla, and you do the things that you got to do, but I'm done now. And there's a reason Robert didn't let him see what was going on behind the scenes, because he would have stopped it. He would have. He was, when he found out, he was horrified. And I think it says a lot that he had so much loyalty to Robert throughout the movie. But then when Robert crossed that line, and Robert didn't tell him because he knew he was crossing this line, Cutter was like, no, I'm going to get this little girl. Like, because I feel like the most horrific thing Robert did was take Jess.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was awful. I don't think he would have hurt her or done anything. I think he would have raised her, and I don't think he would have hurt a child. I think he would have raised her to be whatever. But just allowing someone to die thinking that their child was going to be horrifically abused and hurt is cruel beyond measure. And I think once Cutter realized just how sick Robert was and how deep this obsession became, he couldn't live with it, which is honestly why Robert wound up dying. Megan drunkenly assaulted.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Jesse? I never did that. I never drunkenly assaulted. I 100% did. It was amazing. But I have a lot of feelings towards Cutter. I think he is kind of the moral compass of the entire show. Him and Sarah are like, they're who we're watching to see the emotional impact and trauma that these two characters or three characters bring about. Because I know we talk about Fallon being the gentler twin or the nice twin. He's not. He's just as culpable as Alfred. Just because he loves Sarah doesn't make him less like Paula and Aaron has that abusive towards her, because he allowed this to happen. So that's, I guess, my thought about Cutter. Oh my God.
Paula.
I don't know. I think Cutter was a little bit more complicit in this whole thing because he knew that Robert was just out for revenge. And that he was, quite frankly, jealous too of Alfred. And I would have agreed with you, Meg, up until the point where he helped basically catch one of the twins, and that twin was then actually literally buried alive.
See, don't bring that up.
And
Don't bring in facts, Paula.
Don't bring in the facts to my
facts have no
conversation.
place here. Facts have no place here.
Don't.
But
None.
he also realized that Robert was alive and that Alfred was innocent, and he had testified
know.
against him and never said anything either.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks,
So-
Jesse, for bringing me pizza, by the way.
I mean, there might have been certain lines that he wasn't willing to cross. However,
I didn't
He
feel like
crossed
it was
other
that.
lines.
I didn't feel like it was that much time between him realizing that Robert was alive and Alfred being hanged. I don't feel like there was that much time.
there might not have been, but I mean,
But he
He
could have
didn't seem-
tried to do
I mean,
something.
he didn't seem too upset about it either.
Justice was quick, man. They're like, you're sentenced to hang.
That's
Who needs appeals? Like, I'm shocked
Very
that
true.
they didn't just walk him out to the gallows right then.
yeah, yeah, but he didn't seem very upset about it. He didn't call Robert on it. He didn't react in any way to that. It was like, well, that happened, and we're just gonna pretend it didn't. Yeah, so in the beginning, I think I was more sympathetic to him because he was also dealing with Julia's death. But as you go on, he in my opinion became just as complicit in what was going on as Robert was.
Yeah, and even if he was hung right away, even if Alfred was hung like that and there wasn't anything that he could have done, he could have tried, and he didn't even try. That's the thing, is he didn't even like make any attempt. It was just like, and he seemed
Yeah.
like he was acting like all horrified and shocked, and he was, but at the same time he didn't do anything. And then he's like, okay, I've got to make up for this somehow. So then he got
Again,
Jess
please
and
stop
reunited Jess with the
cluttering my
twin. But
opinions with your facts.
Well, he could have at least, at the very least, at the very least, he could have tried to clear Alfred's name,
yes, exactly.
if
Yeah.
nothing
Good
else.
old Freddie B.
Freddie B. Tiff, your thoughts on Cutter?
He seems like he's like a, kind of this loving grandpa type. But I do agree with you, Paul. I think there is some complicity with him not squashing the well, at first it's a healthy competition, but then just this you can't even call it competitions, this this vengeance, this grudge match between Alfred and Robert. I think he could have had a lot more influence on the two of them had he chosen to do so, and he didn't. He was like, hey, it's outside of my hands. This is not about me anymore. But he really, as an older magician, as kind of a mentor to them both, he should have been able to talk some sense into either one of them. But if he did, then we wouldn't have a Christopher Nolan movie. So
Very true.
So he can't. He can't do it. He can't do that at all. So he is, it's Michael Caine being Michael Caine. I feel like a lot of his characters, like his true self, bleeds into his characters a lot of the time.
Mhm.
Except now he's giving you a little bit of a Cockney accent, just a little bit. But I mean, I like the character. I do like the character, but I felt like he could have facilitated more between Alfred and Robert. He could have been a better sounding board for Robert, and you could have seen how desperately Robert was trying to get back at Alfred for what he perceived to be his fault in Julia's death, or his complicity in Julia's death. So the role, I think, could have been expanded a bit more. But for what he was given, I thought he did a solid job. And the character, yeah, I didn't hear you, Meg.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, I think it was cool. I thought it was cool. Could have been a little bit more, but it was all right.
Yeah, and I think what Alfred, see,
If only he hadn't told Robert that drowning was like going home, none of this would have happened.
it's all John
Robert
Cutter's
would have
fault.
dropped him into like a meat grinder or something.
Oh my God.
Then this would have been more Aaron's speed. You like horror. That's all I was saying.
I do like this movie, but even though this movie actually technically is not even a movie that I normally would like, but I do like it. But yeah, if meat grinding had been involved, man, whew, my love of this movie would be.
You'd have to have blind and deaf stage hands because the screams, man.
Oh my God. Jeez, I'm just picturing.
I'm thinking about this way too much now.
They went and made hamburgers from them, and they
Yeah,
sold them.
and then it was meat pies. Meat pies.
That's it. I'm at my limit. I am out. Christian is disgusted and he's coming with me. We're gonna have marshmallows for comfort.
Is this theater on Fleet Street by any chance?
Well, I mean, he can sing, so we're already halfway there.
I mean, there you go. He just needs to get his barber license.
They could make The Prestige the musical.
Could you imagine? Oh my, it would be so annoying. It would be more annoying than the Phantom of the Opera, which I actually love in a lot of ways, but it's just like, God, stop singing about your angst. Like, I love it. I absolutely love the Phantom of the Opera, but at some point you got to be like, can you just stop?
There's definitely a love-hate relationship with that movie.
Yeah, can you just knock it off?
Enough with the grinding people in the meat grinder. Enough. Anyway.
We get it, Sweeney Todd. You're not a vegan.
anyway, John Cutter, I think really what I think John Cutter is supposed to be is the audience. He's supposed to be like a stand-in for us, and we're supposed to be viewing the story through his eyes. He's supposed to be telling us, pay attention, look closely. And I mean, he narrates a lot in the beginning. I mean, a little bit in the beginning. And so I think that's what he's supposed to do. But he is, he's not some innocent bystander. And like Mal said, they said in some ways he's worse because he's pretending to be a nice guy. And I think that's true. I mean, he's very much like, I am the nice guy who does everything right. Yet he does help someone be buried alive. He doesn't try to do anything when he finds out somebody didn't actually kill anybody. And it's like, okay, he excuses everything he does with the nice guy thing. And I even excuse a lot of the stuff he does too, because even before we were having this conversation, I was thinking, well, at least John Cutter was like trying to help and did help in the end. And then I was like, wait a minute, he actually did a lot of crappy stuff. So it's weird. So I think it goes to Michael Caine, honestly.
Michael Caine
I
can
think
really
it's
make us question and change a lot of our moral, as can Hugh Jackman for some of us at least.
Well, yeah, Michael Caine. If Michael Caine was standing there throwing people into the meat grinder, we'd be like, I don't know, was he really doing something wrong?
Like, what did they do to
They must have had it
deserve?
coming.
Like,
There must
what
have
did
been a
they
reason
do
for it.
to deserve being thrown into the meat grinder? Is what I want to know. That's what I want to hear. Because if Michael Caine's throwing him in there, they must have done something.
Yes.
Check out their CCAT, or what is it, the court documents on the internet.
Oh, the transcripts?
Oh, so in my state at least, you can look up people's court documents. If
Oh,
they go
yeah.
to court for
Mhm.
any crimes, you can look it up
Yeah.
and be like, so what did they
Oh,
do? They
for the
must
people
have
that
earned
took-
it.
In the
This
meat
is how I
grinder.
type. Do you guys know this?
So, okay, so let's talk about David Bowie, Tesla,
David
because and I meant to ask Christian about if he's still really sad that he didn't get to meet David Bowie, because they were talking about that on the interview, because Hugh Jackman's like, David Bowie's so cool. How did you like him? And Christian Bale's like, I didn't get to flip and meet him. So
Can you imagine? Like, I would have,
know.
like been like, I know I'm not in any of these scenes, but can I
I'm
just
just gonna
hang
come
out
hang
on the
out.
set?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally would have showed up
He
Yeah.
had
just
the
for
star
that.
power. He could have done it. He could have just gone.
Who's gonna tell Christian Bale no?
I know, right?
Not David Bowie.
Exactly.
He could have put on his makeup and looked like Hugh Jackman and gone and tried to act. He's so dedicated to his craft.
Yeah, Christian. It was just so funny watching it, because Hugh Jackman's just like, yeah, and he was like this and this and this, and Christian Bale's like, oh, well,
I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
I
good for
totally
you.
placed that Tesla was David Bowie.
Okay, well,
reminded
Meg's
me-
off.
No, he reminded me of. Oh my god, I'm trying to think of the dad. He's like a. He reminded me of a different actor that had totally spaced that it was David Bowie,
okay. Well,
and
Carla,
I can't think of it.
So anyway, my thoughts on Tesla and David Bowie. That is like, it was the coolest thing, because the way that they portray Tesla is kind of untouchable and incredibly cool, and somebody who you kind of look up to, and you're not quite sure why. You just know that you are before somebody great. And that's kind of the feeling with David Bowie. I mean, he's just like, he's just a person, but he's still, there's something about him that is so special and untouchable, where it feels like he was a hologram at some point, where it's like, is he even real? And the fact that in the earlier parts of the movie, you're not allowed to meet him. It's like, no, you don't get to meet Mr. Tesla. No, that's not how this works. So it has that same quality of, let him do his work behind the scenes, let him work his magic, and let the magic just wash over you. I don't know. He was just so flippin' cool. I loved him in that. I thought he did a great job in that role. It's one of those one of those times when something that could feel like stunt casting doesn't, because the person in that role actually brings something to the table.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off that a
He's a
little
great-
bit because it didn't feel like stunt casting because I didn't realize that it was necessarily David Bowie. And that
For
I'm
those of
actually
us who are cool and know who David
no,
Bowie
but I'm
is,
gonna portray
it
that.
mattered.
No, I'm gonna portray that as a compliment because David Bowie does such a good job of kind of melding into the roles he plays. That
I mean, like, let's not forget his incredible, just mind-blowing performance in the classic movie Zoolander.
of course, yes.
It's
I
the same.
mean,
It's the same
it's
level.
the same thing. It's the same in depth, like really getting into the
Mhm.
character. Aside from it being David Bowie, because it was clearly a big deal to me that David Bowie was in this movie. It was like, wow, I cannot believe. I thought having Tesla in this movie was so freaking brilliant because if this movie is about rivalries and it's about one-upmanship and about this competition and ego and obsession and all of that, to have Tesla, not have Edison, but to have Tesla be in there. And I just felt like that was so beautifully done because the competition between Nicholas between Tesla and Edison was so toxic in a lot of ways, but also propelled both of them to greatness. And to have him try and impart this wisdom, because at this point, this is like old Tesla. This is not in the height of his competition with Edison. But to have him try and warn Robert to be like, hey, by the way, as someone who's lived through this, maybe don't. Maybe just try and be great in your own merit without trying to tear somebody else down. Because if you really want to revenge, then just be great on your own merit. So I thought the addition of him and his machine that he felt was too dangerous. I'm like, why did you leave it with him then? But again, he gave him a lot of money. I thought that was just really, really brilliant. And to have the great David Bowie, whom I adore and love in every possible iteration.
She's like, I'm gonna so try and make up for this.
No, I didn't even realize. I can't remember who you're. He's like a dad in a TV show is who you're reminding me of, and I can't think of him off the top. I cannot think of him right now. The mustache really got me into this really weird headspace. But I did not realize it was David Bowie, which is a credit to David Bowie because I feel like I would recognize him anywhere, but I did not.
His performance was so good, you couldn't.
It was really good though. He did a really good job.
He's a good
Like,
actor, or he was.
It was an underappreciated role for him. But I just thought it was brilliant to have Tesla be in this and have him be a catalyst for this I don't even think rivalry is the right word, or competition. It went so far beyond a professional rivalry between the two of them, which I mean is why we have the movie. But I thought it was brilliant. And yeah, I mean, I love David Bowie. I don't really care that much about David Bowie, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Man.
I'm sorry. Carla's gone.
Woo. Goodbye,
I lost
Meg.
her.
Yeah, that's.
I like him, but like
that's. See, you thought my Hugh Jackman thing was bad. This is worse.
I was born too late.
David Bowie is timeless.
I had labyrinthitis, which meant he was just.
You're done here, Meg. You're done
singing in
here.
my ears.
Bye-bye.
Months.
We are going to be talking about Labyrinth later on this year, by the way.
But
I'm very
that's not
excited
what
to
Labyrinth
talk about the
happens.
fact that she should have just left her baby brother and stayed with
Just
David
ditch him.
Bowie.
Just ditch the bruh.
I always thought that.
Who needs him? Who needs a younger sibling anyway?
Exactly my thoughts.
As a younger
Every person,
sibling.
every person I know felt the same exact way. So
been a really long time since I watched that one.
So Paula, your thoughts
Did you
on
know
the
it was David
amazing,
Bowie?
I did.
incredible David Bowie?
I did, and I was actually just when I saw him on screen, I was like, so cool. Loved it. He did a fantastic job, and Meg touched on what I was gonna say about the rivalry between Tesla and Edison, and how they inserted that in the movie was absolutely brilliant. And they talked about it a little bit in the movie. They touched on it, and because that rivalry was just awful. Edison did some horrible things to sabotage Tesla, which really paralleled what happened between Robert and Alfred. And can I just talk about his entrance was really cool. And just a little side note on that, they might, I don't know because I haven't seen any interviews or anything, but Tesla kind of did something a little bit like that, and I think it was like one of the World's Fair that he was at, where he um, used brass balls on a Tesla coil and actually had the electricity kind of going over his body. So that was a really cool, especially if you're a science geek or a history buff, that was a really cool moment to have him walk in through that field of electricity. It was just spectacular. And I loved that they put Tesla in the movie. That was fantastic, and have David Bowie play him was loved it.
And I just want to say that is the most adorable you have ever been, Paula. That was so adorable watching you geek out about that. Was so, oh my gosh. I love you. That was
Oh,
amazing.
I geek out about there's some things that I get a kick out of, and that was one of them. I just loved that.
That was, I love that. Uh the only it's Murdoch Mysteries. What was Murdoch Mysteries? Mal is mentioning Murdoch Mysteries as because that's what they think of when they think of Tesla. Silence. Sorry.
Have ever heard of
Oh,
Murdoch
I've heard of them, but
Mysteries?
I've never seen them.
Is
I've
that
never
that's
watched
not,
it.
yeah. Oh, well, sorry, Mal. So Tiff,
I watched All My Children.
I did too.
Pine Valley High, man.
It's a CSI type
Oh,
show
okay.
set in the late 1890s. Oh, okay. So Tiff, your thoughts on David Bowie and Tesla?
Yeah, what Megan mentioned about him basically seeing how deep into this competition, that this grudge match that Robert was in, that he was willing to do this horrible thing. And Tesla knew what that machine was capable of. That's the key. It's like, I've been where you are before. I've had this epic, grudge match with Edison in the past. I am now living free of said grudge match, and I'm a lot happier, because you can see he's this really like calm dude. He's chill, he's relaxed,
Singing
but he's
songs.
yeah, but he's willing to give up, like, I guess, trade secrets, but he's going to give him the side effects to those secrets and the down parts to that as well, because he's giving him free will, because everybody deserves to have that free will, but he's letting him know this is a cautionary action. You need to know what's going to happen with this. And I think it's almost a test, and Robert fails spectacularly in doing so, and in taking the machine and using it as he does, and massive clone deaths abound after that. But I like the way I like the way Bowie plays it. I like Bowie. I always liked David Bowie as an actor. Anyway, oh my gosh, his turn in Zoolander is epic. It is epic. I mean, David Bowie announcing a walk-off. It can't get any better than that. So it's a very small role, but it's just there's like massive impact, I think, in it. It's something that I remember it. I can remember like every single moment of his interaction with Robert, and the way he and Hugh Jackman play off of each other. And you're right. If I had been on set, I'm like, okay, I just want to go sit. I'm just going to sit and, just kind of hang back if I'm Christian Bale. I'm just gonna
I
just gonna
know,
sit here
man.
and take a look. Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
know. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to add except for to just say David Bowie was remarkable, a remarkable artist, a remarkable person. And he's so beautiful to watch. And I don't just mean that because he was a very attractive man. I just mean there's something about watching David Bowie where it's like he's and another I don't know how to describe it. It's like he's a, in a totally different plane of existence almost. It's weird. It's like he knows more than the rest of us know, yet he's not egotistical about it. It's like I am not it's not like he's above us. It's just he's more enlightened than the rest of us. It's like he was given something that the rest of us weren't given. But he's not like an ego. Didn't have a huge ego. And when he passed, that was so heartbreaking because he was so beautiful. And his son, if you haven't watched the movie Moon with Sam Rockwell, it was directed by David Bowie's son, and it's a beautiful movie and one of the best performances Sam Rockwell has ever given. And and you can see that David Bowie's beauty and light was passed on to his son, and also passed on to a lot of people, and his music is timeless. And just how open he was about sexuality and being comfortable in your skin and being okay in what you wear and wearing makeup and everything like that. And I think it made him even more enjoyable to watch because he's just, I mean, he's not in this very long at all, but you remember him, and you want more of him. And I don't know, it makes me want to cry that he's not around, honestly.
I feel very
that hit me
compelled to
really
add
hard.
that I'm not a huge Bowie fan in any way. I do appreciate who David Bowie was as an artist. Like, I made a joke about not caring about Bowie, but I do appreciate how important he was and how brilliant he was as an artist. I'm just not a huge fan personally. That's all. Like,
Well,
but
yeah, he
I
had
do
huge
I
impact.
understand all of that a lot of people feel, and I appreciate it, and I can recognize the talent that he had and the gift that he gave to everyone. So that's all from me.
Yeah,
I don't want to
we'll
seem
have to-
cavalier and callous about David Bowie, you guys.
we'll have to at some point.
Sorry, Carla.
At some point, we'll have to do an episode on David Bowie. I don't know why I haven't, but we'll definitely be geeking out about him when we talk about Labyrinth. We talked a little bit about him on our queer horror episode when we talked about The Hunger. So if you want to see David Bowie as a vampire, and then also he's incredible in that movie. But yeah, he's such. I don't know what that is, but
That's David
he's
Bowie's fangs, because they'll just lure you in.
okay. Now it's
Carla's like, I can't believe this is my best friend.
she's like, yeah. But anyway, I just yeah, that's why I put Tesla in all caps on the outline.
I thought we were
Rightly
talking about
so.
the car, you guys.
Thank you. The car.
I thought it was the 1980s rock group.
I like how your microphone somehow looks like the giant speaker from 1983.
It's not even my microphone. It's the thing surrounding it to keep it quiet.
Yeah, to keep it quiet.
Okay, well, we already talked about the big twist, so we're not going to talk about that, especially because of time. So we're going to round out. I put this on the outline strictly for Meg, but also because I do think it's interesting. When this came out, this was one of those where, like when you had Deep Impact and what was that?
Armageddon.
And then you had like all the other, there's been a bunch of them. I can't remember them all now. But this was like that. So this came out, and then also the movie The Illusionist came out with Edward Norton and the fantastic, amazing, award-worthy Jessica Biel.
I
She's actually really good in the first season of The Sinner. I do want to give her credit for that.
Yes, I
So-
will agree with you on
I mean,
that.
she's not awful in The Illusionist, but it's just like Tiff,
I honestly don't remember.
Tiff put the nail on the head. She's like, is she a duchess? Can we believe?
Look, I'm just saying there are people,
A
there are
Vienna
actors,
duchess.
there are actors who can play like, you know, different time frames, you know,
I
like
don't
people
know
that play in the
who killed
past.
me.
Jessica Biel does not have a face that's built for
Yeah.
somebody who, no, she doesn't though.
No,
She's
that's
got
true.
She's
That's
got a
very
modern actor's
Mhm.
face. She doesn't, I
Yeah.
don't believe her when she tells me that she's, you know, like this early 20th century duchess. It's not believable. Like to me,
Yeah.
it's not. She's just not. Now,
Yeah,
Rebecca
there are
Hall,
some-
yes.
Yeah, there are some I agree, Tiff. There are some actors that you just kind of are like, no, you can't ever see them in period pieces kind of thing. Very, very true. Yeah, yeah. So these two came out around the same time, and it was like a competition of which one is better. And Meg had a very wrong opinion for a long time, and I'll let her defend herself.
Not even a
But-
wrong
but-
opinion.
But most people, but most people decided The Prestige was the better one of the two. But I mainly just put this on here because I guess it would kind of feel weird not to mention that there was this competition there. And then I'm just going to briefly say what Mal said, and then I'll get to you, Carla. These two movies are so interconnected in their mind because they literally watched one movie and then they didn't even turn on the light to change the DVDs in the room to watch the second one. So The Illusionist, I don't know which order you watched them in, Mal, but so one of them was like the sequel to the other one.
Stop think about it.
So-
Like,
So Carla, did you have you seen The Illusionist? Did you like
Yeah. Actually watched them both the year that they came out,
Yeah.
and my husband and I, oh wait, we weren't together at that point. No, but we ended up rewatching them later. Anyway, the point is that I watched them both very close to one another. And The Illusionist is really more of a story of star-crossed lovers and very little to do about actual magic, except for, like, that's just the kind of the gambit to help, push the story along. Whereas with The Prestige, I think it's definitely more about rivalry, but it uses the magic better than The Illusionist does. I mean, hands down, The Prestige is the one that I favor. I think that the writing, the acting, the score, the cinematography. Okay, so it's just a better movie. Okay,
a
like
better
okay,
movie.
yes, it's just a better movie for sure.
less sepia tone.
Yes, yeah. And it's also just more interesting. Like I said, the other one is just about star-crossed lovers, and that is covered ad nauseum throughout the years in film, TV, and books. Also, I had more crushes on the people in The Prestige than I did in the people in The Illusionist, so that helps me as well.
Yes. Yes. Very, very, very true. So Meg, I
You didn't
know
have
that
a big crush on Paul Giamatti.
my
Okay, listen,
He
don't
was
talk
the
about Paul
one.
Giamatti.
I know, I love Paul Giamatti. So okay, so here's the thing, and I found this so interesting. So I watched these movies when they came out right away, and I was very much in the Illusionist camp, but I was also very much in the time in my life where I really enjoyed romance, and the more tragic the romance, the better. And I didn't see The Prestige as having any kind of romance. It was just these two assholes who were like destroying themselves and each other and everyone around them for a magic show. And also I really got into a Rufus Sewell kick because I think he is amazing. He always plays bad guys, but I love him. He does it so well, and I love him so much. And he has the face for an evil prince of like Eastern European descent. Like he just does. He was made for this role. And this is like The Illusionist feels like if you give me all the ingredients to bake a really good cake, but I am not a baker, I'm going to mess this cake up. Like, I have all of the ingredients. I have romance. I have some really, really good actors, and Jessica Biel's there too. Like, I have the stuff to make a good cake, but it just doesn't come to it. And I think what's so frustrating now watching it again and watching The Prestige is a much better movie, just as far as the story and the structure and the actual if you look at the themes of the movie and how they interweave the whole prestige and the whole magic trick throughout the movie, and how they like just it so works together so beautifully. And The Illusionist is like, oh yes, I fell in love with the Duchess, and she was betrothed to a prince, and I made an orange tree grow, and then I did some weird stuff to make fake spirits show up. And you never really get to know what that's called, what causes that. Like, we're supposed to believe that he actually has some power to conjure up the dead, because they never explained it. The Prestige, you know how all the tricks work. Like, you know how it all works. They tell you how it works, but I watched these both back to back this week. Like, I went from The Prestige to The Illusionist, because I was just like, I remember loving The Illusionist so much and being so frustrated watching The Prestige. And I think it was 100% because I was there for I wanted to watch a romance that had some magic in it. And I didn't care so much about the story. And that's how we grow, guys. It's a lesson about how we grow.
Yes. Yes.
And the orange tree trick just bothers me now because it doesn't make sense.
I don't remember anything from this movie, so I probably won't say much. But so I know, Tiff, you have to go. And do you want to go now, or are you okay with Paula going and then coming to you? What was that?
I couldn't get my thing to unmute.
Oh.
It would not unmute. No, I do have to run, but I don't know what Meg was thinking when she was loving The Illusionist back in the day. But
I was really into Moulin Rouge at the same time. I feel like
okay, well, I get that. But she's right, because it did have all that and all those ingredients, but it did not work as a film. It did not. But shout out to Rufus Sewell, because the hair, the eyes,
the mustache. He had an amazing mustache.
Chef's kiss on that. But I do have to run. It's been a blast. It's been a gas.
Thank you, Tiff.
It's been
you can say where people can find you too.
If you'd like to find me, it's on the screen. At Who Is Tiff Is Me.
That's true. I could have just said that.
My Abby is a grumpy cat right now. That's my theme for 2022 is just grumpy cats. So if you think it's not me, it's me. It's a grumpy cat all month long.
Tiff is a grumpy cat.
I am a grumpy cat. Thank you.
We love you, Tiff.
Love you all. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye. And then Paula, did you see The Illusionist, and did you like The Illusionist at all? Because that's Mal's favorite, but
I did see The Illusionist. We also saw them because they came out like 2 or 3 months apart from each other.
Immediately.
We saw them.
There was a weird rivalry. Like, you could like
weird.
one or the other. You could not like them both.
Well, I remember I haven't rewatched it, but I remembered enjoying it when I saw it. And yes, I'm on the Rufus Sewell bandwagon here. So yes, but
we all agree on this.
All agree on that. But look, The Prestige is just a much better movie.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I know we didn't go in more into the twist of the show, or the movie, but they telegraphed that all throughout the movie, and the way they wove it in, you saw it, you blatantly saw it, and then you forgot about it until they spelled it out again at the end, and you're like, how did I miss this? And it was
Mhm.
just, I think the storytelling of The Prestige was just much better done than The Illusionist. And I don't know, maybe I just,
Well, and
and
it's
normally I love, period romance stories. But that one just, I don't know, maybe it was, sorry, but maybe it was because it was Jessica Biel, and I don't think she and Norton had really good chemistry. That probably took me out of it, but I remembered enjoying it at the time, but looking back, I don't think it's as good of a movie as The Prestige is.
well, and The Prestige is just, it was just a better story.
Yeah.
It was just a better, like everything about it was better. And
Yeah.
I'm saying this as someone who very much loves period romances
Yeah.
and very much
Same.
loves the
Same.
star-crossed lovers thing. Like, oh my gosh, you had to escape your like horrible, abusive, betrothed person and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
But
I'm usually down for that kind of thing too,
as far
but
as
it just wasn't done well.
storytelling, The Illusionist was just so much thinner.
Mhm.
Like even when you get to the end and you see how it all quote unquote worked out, there's no big surprises, there's no big things. You never learn how he creates these false spirits or anything like that, so we're just made to believe that he's actually magical.
Yeah.
Like, and The Prestige, and that's kind of where what I loved about it, because it was like, well, this is how this magic trick in this movie worked. And I think that's what's so wonderful, is because we never get to see how the magic tricks works if you're not in the magic business. And that's kind of the whole thing, is how secretive it is to see these magic tricks, but to see and learn step by step how it worked, I think is such a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I'm just going to end with just giving some facts about what I thought was really interesting that I just looked up as far as like the ratings for these movies, and then that's all I'm going to, and then we're going to wrap up. The Prestige has a 76% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 92% audience score. It has an 8.5 on IMDb and then a 66 on Metacritic. And then this is really interesting to me because Metacritic is actually a little bit more prestigious. And then The Illusionist actually has a 68 on Metacritic, a 7.6 on IMDb, and then a 73% Rotten Tomatoes, and then 87% audience. So they're actually not as divided as I thought they would be. So that's all I wanted. I'll just say that. I don't remember The Illusionist at all. I didn't want to watch it before this because we weren't really, it's not about The Illusionist, but I just wanted to talk about their little thing there. So that's it. We will go ahead and wrap
I
up.
appreciate you, Aaron, for letting me talk about it, because it was so. I just remember it being very weird and like big at the time.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like I said, I don't remember the movie at all. So we're gonna wrap up and go around and have everybody say where they can be found. Carla.
You can find the podcast that I co-host with Meg called Bedwetter Behead Podcast on any podcast carrier. Our Twitter handle is at bedwetbeheadpod. Our Instagram is at bed.wed.behead.pod. You can find me at Carlatemis on both Instagram and Twitter, or my website, carlatemis.com. That's CARLATEMIS. And you can read an article that I recently wrote that is currently on the Insider. Just look up my name on their little search thingy, and it's like the one article that I've written for them. So it'll be there waiting for your eyes.
Yay, you remembered it this time.
I remember this time.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know what DCOM is. I have no idea. So yeah, we're too old. But yeah,
I'm a millennial
So
too, but I'm an elder. I'm a geriatric millennial.
So Meg, where can they find
you? You can find me in the podcast I host with Carla at. Sorry. Obviously our podcast is all the things that Carla just told you. If you want to find me personally, you can find me on the Twitter at Wisconsinac, which is WISCONSENNACH. Other than that, I am nowhere.
Wow, that was dark.
Meg is adrift
I am
in an
nothing.
ocean of despair.
I Just shout into the ether and I will hear you. You can find me on Jesse's live stream chats harassing him about how thirsty I am for John Cho. That's the other place you can find me.
Okay. And Paula, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at It's My Sandbox.
Awesome, thank you. And
It's like I'm just gonna be straightforward.
I appreciate it, Paula.
I was gonna try and go like word
and
for
this
word
is-
with Carla, and I couldn't do it.
This is Erin. You can follow me on Twitter at @AprilBeauty. The E and the A and the B are capitalized. Be sure to like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/It's a Fandom Thing Pod. On Twitter at Fandom Thing Pod. No, it's in that one. On Instagram at It's a Fandom Thing Pod. On TikTok at It's a Fandom Thing Pod. We've got some cool little Christian Bale TikToks up there that are very popular. So go watch those. And if you would like to be a potential interview guest on the show, Christian, you are welcome anytime. I will bump all my panelists for you. Except for Carla.
Just drop
Carla
my
is-
name, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
her."
Yeah. Except for Carla, because Carla has to be there to help interview you. But with the exception of Carla, all of you will be dead. You're just kidding. I will drop it all to interview you. So reach out to me at itsafandomthingpod@gmail.com. I'm so sad I can't say next week on Christian Bale. I'm so sad about this. It's so pathetic how sad I am about this.
No, it's a beautiful tribute to what a fantastic actor he is. That we covered how many of his movies, and there's still enough to cover another month
For
next
years.
year.
Oh,
Come on.
And even
And
beyond.
beyond.
I can think
Yes.
of one that we should record next year.
Well, it isn't currently winning the poll, but
I don't care. I feel like I get double votes, triple votes. What?
I've
Triple
done a
votes?
lot of episodes for you. It'll get covered eventually.
I'll be dead by
Anyway,
then.
so but next week we have 2 great episodes coming your way. We have an interview with if you watched our One Hit Wonders live stream, we had a mystery guest in our comments that ended up being the author of Neo Chronicles Nexus, D.N. White. So we're going to have an interview with D.N. White. Carla, you're so sorry. I don't know why that was so cute to me, but it was
I
so
love
cute.
him.
I know.
He's a
I
great
know.
writer and just a sweet human being.
He is. He's really sweet. He's very sweet. So I'm very excited for that. And then Meg left us. And then we're going to be talking about Insecure, which I'm rewatching right now. I didn't finish it, so it's also like I'm rewatching the beginning and then finishing it. So Carla will be back for that one, along with Megan, not Meg, Megan. And then Jen, my podcast brain twin, will also be on that one. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. And then remember, Sunday, we are continuing to celebrate Christian Bale on a live stream only for his birthday. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be giving away prizes. We're going to have trivia. I'm sure Christian will be making an appearance. Christian, quote unquote. So he doesn't get upset. I'm sure he'll be making an appearance. Maybe the real Christian will be making an appearance. Just kidding, but who knows? And there will be marshmallows galore for everybody. So that will be, we decided 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So that'll be a lot of fun. And also keep an eye on our social media because we're going to be doing a live tweet of at least, either the Procedure or the Dark Knight. I'm going to flip a coin, but who knows? Maybe it'll end up being both of them. So until next time, remember, it's a fandom thing. Black Lives Matter and stop Asian hate. And thank you so much to everyone who watched and came in and out throughout. Thank you so much, Mal. And you weren't here in the beginning, Mal. And I didn't go over the bingo card, so I don't know if anyone won bingo, but I was marking stuff off. But I have decided, Mal, that it'll be probably in June for a bonus Patreon episode. We are going to talk about 4-letter words. So because you are a Patreon supporter. So we are doing that. So I don't know if you had heard that announcement before, but I wanted to make sure you have heard that we are going to be doing that as a special bonus episode. So just so that you know. And really quickly, and here's the bingo card. Yes. So we did Christian effing Bale's The Free Space. Carla did her Bale impression. We talked about his acting, The Prestige, of course, Chemistry, Equilibrium, American Psycho. I'm going to say, we went on a tangent. Batman, fanfic. We all laughed, and we did talk about body transformation at some point, because Christian talked about cutting off his fingers. Oh, there's an issue. Meg had to go. So Meg had to go. So apologies. So anyway, thank you everybody. This was as long as I expected it to be. I am so not doing well with my 2-hour limit. I'm so annoyed with myself.
You saw the panel. You knew what you were in for.
I know, but
Much
I'm
like
very
Olivia.
annoyed with myself. I'm very annoyed with myself. So this will not keep happening. Please, God. So anyway, thank you again, everybody. Good night. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you, Jesse, Mal. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Panda. I don't know when you left, but thank you so much, and thank you to anybody else who watched or watches later. Thank you. Love you all. Good night.